Good evening. We're just running a few minutes behind, so I apologize. See that there are several people already here from the presentations. A couple things I just wanted to make sure. Obviously, this is a work session, but it's also primarily a listening session for the council. We are anticipating for each presentation 5 minutes. I'm going to hold you pretty tight to that. There's a timer up here, and I think there's a timer up front. Or no, Amanda will have the timer. So I'll kind of give you a 30-second warning when it's about 30 seconds your time is up to let you know. There probably won't be any really questions from the council, so don't take offense to that. I think that we'd be looking at maybe getting out here about 11 o'clock tonight if we had a lot of questions and so forth. So, but welcome and thank you for being here and being patient with us. So we'll go ahead and get started. For our first presenter tonight is the Self-Help Center.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Dyer. I'm the Executive Director of the Self-Help Center, and this is Walt Doney. He's our Marketing and Development Coordinator. Our mission at the Self-Help Center is to provide 24-hour crisis advocacy and support services to victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and elder abuse. I'd really like to thank City Council for our partnership that we've had over the years. Unfortunately, over the years, we've seen the need for our services grow. Our prior office building was about 1,400 square feet. And we simply outgrew it. It simply did not meet the needs of our community. So in March of 2018, we did purchase the old Platte Valley Bank in Evansville. It's about a 9,000 square foot building. Included with that purchase was the adjacent lot right next door. Really, we felt that this was a great opportunity for us to meet all of our clients' needs and to really centralize all of our services. In addition, our shelter is 100 years old and is becoming more and more dilapidated as the day goes on. So right now we are in the process of doing a feasibility study to see what the temperature of the community is to kind of create a self-help center campus to include an on-site shelter on that adjacent lot. We are requesting $150,000 a one-time allotment for that project. We did purchase the building for $724,000. We currently owe $524 roughly on that. Our current shelter is on the market right now, and when that sells, we will use the proceeds of that to go towards the mortgage as well. In addition to that, we are requesting a one-time allotment of $12,000 for signage on the building. When Platte Valley Bank left, they left the casings on the building on the north and west side, as well as on Curtis Street, there's a sign there as well. However, we would have to get the Lexon facing with our logo on that. We did get bids from Bardi Signs as well as Superior Signs in the amount of $12,000 for that. Of course, with our growing need, we know that youth education and prevention is the way that we can stop that cycle of violence. We serve over 2,000 youth through our school presentations. We also have support groups in both of the two major high schools, Kelly Walsh and NC, and through those support groups, we reach another 102 youth per year. We also run a summer program, our core program, and during that program, we reach another 90 youth with that. Our prevention education was funded primarily with foundational grants, and we've seen a lot of those foundations now shutting down. So we are requesting $60,000 over 4 years for our youth prevention coordinator salary. That'd be about $15,000 a year, and that's roughly 20% of total cost for that employee. We've been fortunate to receive the 1 cent funds prior from the Community Action Partnership allocation for our case management, victim services, and shelter services. Every year we serve over 600 walk-in clients. Last year we served 132 victims in our shelter, and we receive about 1,500 calls a year through our 24-hour crisis hotline. We are requesting $48,000 over 4 years to support our victim advocate case management position. That is about 22% of the cost for that staff person. And we are also requesting $32,000 over 4 years for our case house manager, our safe house manager position, and that's about 14%. For that position. And again, that funding for those positions we did priorly have through the CAP allocation. Again, we really appreciate our ongoing partnership that the city has with the Self-Help Center. Together we really have made an impact, and we hope that we can continue our partnership and work towards our vision of ending violence in our community.
Thank you so much. Really quick before you go, we still have one minute, so I'm just going to use this. I forgot to mention, if you could, and if it's not stated otherwise in your application, whether that funding is for 4 years, and I think you did, Jen, whether it's a 4-year or over the course of that full funding is for 4 years per year, if that makes sense.
You know, for our first two items, we were talking about a one-time allotment. Of course, you know, if, depending on how the 1 cent funds roll in, you know, if we were to be awarded that, we could split that up over the 4 years. For the staff salaries, we were planning on having that allocated over the 4 years.
Okay, great. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Not so much a question, just using that last remaining 1 minute to make a statement, because I won't be awarded that, I'm sure, at the end of this meeting. So this is mainly to council and perhaps those in the audience and those watching, is that we have to make sure when we're giving out funds that we're also upholding the state's constitution, which if you look at Article 16, Section 6, the loan of credit donations, they're prohibited unless they're for the use that goes towards the poor, for example. You go to Article 3, Section 36, no appropriation shall be made for charitable, industrial, educational, or benevolent purpose to any person, corporation, or community that's not under the direct control of the state or the city. So I just want to make sure that you guys keep that in mind as we listen to the rest of the presentations and we discuss this further at another meeting.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Casper Mountain Ski Patrol.
Good afternoon. My name is Sean King. I'm the current director of the Casper Mountain Ski Patrol. I'd like to start by giving you guys just a little bit of background about the patrol and what we do. We're comprised of roughly 40 patrollers, 3 of which are City of Casper employees. The remainder are volunteers. Our primary focus is we are the first responders at Ogadon if there's an incident there. We extract those patients off the hill and bring them up to the ski patrol hut, and then Wyoming Medical Center will take them to the hospital, from there. We also promote safety culture and educate skiers on safe skiing, and we also help city employees put up slow signs, ropes, that sort of thing. So we're kind of an all-purpose help to the area. I think the patrol is kind of a unique organization in the sense that we provide a service to the city of Casper at one of their facilities for their patrons. And because the patrol does not receive any funds for those services, any major expenses that the patrol incurs, we have to do fundraising to provide those items. We do have an aging fleet of toboggans, which toboggans are used to extract patients off the hill and then bring them up to the patrol hut. And one item that I'm asking for is $2,500 for a new toboggan. It'll give us, it's got some new features, a little bit more safety features, that sort of thing. And then I'm also asking for $500 for a cell phone booster. As patients come into the patrol hut, the design of the building basically blocks any cell signals. So patients either have to go outside to call mom or dad. We either have to use the city phone that's up there. If it's a long distance call, city rules don't allow people making long distance phone calls. And so it makes it a little bit cumbersome, trying to coordinate that a little bit. So it would be preferable if we could do a one-time allotment, but we are willing to work that over a 4-year time span as well if necessary. So
Great.
thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. University of Wyoming Extension of Natrona County.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Manager Carter. I'm Donna Hoffman, the horticulturist, horticulture educator at the University of Michigan Extension Office here in Natrona County. And Mary Kay Wardlaw, my supervisor, one of the associate directors of Extension, she works here on the east side of the state, is with me today. And we have a few master gardeners in the audience. This is our first time asking for 1 cent sales tax. I believe since the Extension Office asked for 1 cent sales tax to build the building that we work in out on Fairgrounds Road in, it was a 1987 construction. We are asking for just under $26,000, which will go towards my salary. It's about 54% of my salary or 35% of my salary and benefits package. We had some discussion with city staff on whether to ask for a 4-year amount or to put the $25,000, which is an annual portion, into the request. So I guess it would be a 4 times that amount request over the 4 years of the funding. Our mission is to do lifelong learning with citizens, so it's not for credit education out in the communities across the state. We have 23 counties in the state. We've got 2 counties that have 2 offices and then 1 office on the Wind River Indian Reservation. There are 6 counties in the state that have horticulture educators. 2 of those counties, Campbell County and Natrona County, have full-time educators, and the rest are part-time in some form of things. Between the 2 counties that have full-time educators, we have the strongest Master Gardener programs in the state, therefore we have the most volunteers to work with. And Natrona County has been the longest standing Master Gardener organization. We started before Extension moved from the building across from the courthouse on B Street behind Subway out to the Fairgrounds office building. With the funding request, we partner with the county, of course, and they provide our office building, our staff, our office supplies, those kinds of things, for about 24% of my salary, and then with the university covering the benefits package and portions of the salary, they cover about 36% of the salary and benefits. With the combination and partnership on funding, we are able to do an annual Master Gardener training and train anywhere from approximately 9 Master Gardeners on up to years where we have 20 to 25 volunteers in the class. Once we have those volunteers trained, we have a research-based, well-educated group of volunteers to help answer garden questions in the community. And I think the biggest component relating to the city and city staff is by having trained volunteers in the community, citizens know that they can call the Extension office to get those questions answered, and they won't be calling the Parks Department, asking how to take care of lawn questions, calling the Parks Department and asking who do I get to prune my trees, those kinds of questions, so that the Parks Department and other city staff can focus on their mission of maintaining infrastructure and keeping up city services. Those trained volunteers also put on a number of community events and activities. Some of them are somewhat fundraising activities, but most of them are seen as community service projects for the community. So we put on the Spring Gardening Conference, which a few of you have attended in the past. They do put on an annual plant sale, so they grow plants, and we also dig plants in other people's yards to share around the community, so we know that we have plants that are suitable for our environment to grow in people's yards that want to expand their gardening experience. We put on the Garden Gate Garden Walk to have the citizens be able to see gardens that other people have put in and get ideas on how they can implement gardening in their own yards. Many of those we focus on landscapes that
30 seconds.
have done. We put on the farmers market, and that's probably the biggest thing that they see as a community service and brings a lot of vendors into the community. We've also been doing the Central Wyoming Tree Care Workshop, and as many of you know, we're part of the Dead Tree Task Force, and we're going to see more coming to us from the citizens here with the dead trees that we have in our community after the freeze and Storm Atlas. So with that, I will stop. We did pass out a handout, and appreciate your time.
Great. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Natrona County Library. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Lisa Scroggins. I'm the Executive Director of the Natrona County Library, and I just want to start by thanking you for the opportunity to apply and for this time to be able to share and maybe give some information about the needs that we have at the library. So our mission at the library is to advocate and to provide for literacy education and a thriving community. We serve all peoples in Natrona County, not only our residents, but also people who are coming in as visitors, and that's a trade that's important to our community, often stop by the library to use our services. The cornerstone of the library service, though, is the free borrow and return method of circulating materials that help meet the needs of our community patrons. And so that is what I'm specifically wanting to address to you today. So I have submitted it on behalf of the library a request in the amount of $962,500 that we would ask for consideration over the entire 4-year cycle to be distributed over the 4 years. So as a public library, it is really important that we offer relevant, current information and materials to our community. Having items on the shelf is not as important as is not important when you compare it to having items that are relevant and that are useful to the current citizenry. And so that requires following our collection development policy to make sure that we're maintaining a current and timely collection that is needed by our community. So we would request $800,000 of our request would be used for collection development. And these are items that we do circulate directly to the patrons or are for patron use in the library. Our goal is that with the current and relevant collection that we would see a 2% increase in circulation over the next 4 years. This is really an indicator of public need and of favorable public consideration. Currently, our 4 years of this current 1 cent cycle has been right at $2.5 million. So we're looking at increasing that to a $2.6 million over the next 1 cent cycle. We also request $162,500, which is approximately 50% of the cost of a new bookmobile. The bookmobile is our primary outreach tool. We use that to go out into the community. The bookmobile makes approximately 60 stops every 2 weeks. And of those 60 stops, 55 of them are in the city limits of Casper. We do have a few that go out to Bar None and Alcova and Evansville, but by and large, the service is all right here in the city of Casper. Some of those are at schools, some of those are at nursing homes or resident facilities for our senior community. Some of those are at daycares and learning centers for our youth, and some of them are just in the community, whether they're at a community neighborhood stop or perhaps at a park. And we see ample use of that service. And so we would request the $162,500 as a 50% investment in our bookmobile that would then hopefully be funded the balance from the county as a county-city partnership on that service. So our data at the library shows us that for every, in our last year, for every $1 of tax money that was invested in the public library, yielded a $5.35 return on investment. So I think that is an important thing for you to note. And I think that kind of covers what we need. So basically, we're looking for funds for a bookmobile and for our collection development, which is our materials. Oh, and one other thing, our material collections include the standard traditional print text as well as audiobooks that come on CDs, e-audiobooks that are downloadable, e-books, playaways.
30 seconds.
And a variety of other formats.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask a real
You
quick
bet.
question?
You have 20 seconds.
The 162 that you're saying would come from the county, is that coming from the county general fund, or is that a 1% request?
It's going to be a 1% request from the county
All
as
I
well.
wanted to know.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much. I appreciate your time.
Betcha. CASA. Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you guys. I'm just going to start with a little bit of a background, just so you know. CASA was developed in 1977 by a judge in Seattle, and the reason he thought that a CASA program needed to be started was he was trying to make decisions on kids' lives, abused and neglected children, when he didn't have any information to go off of. And so he figured if we could get some volunteers, train them on what we're looking for, train them to provide services to these kids and get to know them, that he could make a better informed decision on what he should do with the rest of their lives. So in 2002, CASA in Ventura County started with 5 community members who were frustrated because they were watching kids in foster care have nobody speak up for them, have nobody talk about their best interests, have nobody hear their voices or fight for them. So we are still here today. They went in front of Judge Solons and said, we really think this will be helpful to you. The caseload in Ventura County is the highest it's ever been. And he said, I will give you guys 6 months to show its value. And he still talks about that story at every one of our swearing-ins. It's neat to listen to. So right now we have 73 active volunteers, and we have 262 children today in foster care, or in the CASA program. Last year we had 338. The year before that it was 330. So every single year the number of kids that come into our program who have been abused and neglected by their caregivers continues to increase. We have, in the last 3 months, we brought 49 brand new kids into our program. Every time school starts, it ramps up. We will usually see sometimes 25, 30 kids brought in within the first 60 days of school starting, and that's each month. So I'm worried about what the number is going to look like as it increases past this year. This is the first time in just over 3 years that we've actually had kids on the waiting list. We would rather have advocates waiting to take a case than have kids waiting to have somebody fight for them. So we're kind of at a really critical place where we need to ramp up a lot of our training, do some more trainings, and get a lot more people in here. The one thing I'll tell you is that a child with a CASA advocate spends, on average, 7 months less time in foster care. So for a cost to the state, it costs the state $2,549 per child per month to have them in foster care. So if you take 7 months off of that, that's about $17,800 per month per child. So in 2017, we reunified 140 children back into safe homes. So 7 months off of that was a savings to the state of about $1.78 million by just having somebody in there, making sure that they're not languishing in foster care and making sure that their needs are being met. So as the number increases every year, we really need to get these caring adults into the lives of these kids so they don't fall through the cracks. And I think what's so important is that the information that they receive, they get to know these kids, they go to their schools, they go to their foster placements, they make referrals to services that they wouldn't have, but they are able to give the judge information that he otherwise wouldn't have to make a decision on their lives that's going to last for the rest of their life. Over the time from 2002 until now, we've served 1,492 kids. And we know that funding is tight for every nonprofit around here, and CASA is aware of that. And we are in the very beginning stages of an endowment to try to ease some of that and try to make up some of that fall when the economy is not there to make fundraising and that kind of stuff more feasible. So the portion that we're asking for is just a portion of our program manager's salary, and she is the one responsible for doing the recruiting and the training and the retention of our advocates. And it's a one-time chunk in that same amount over the next 4 years. All right.
Great, thank you so much. Platte River Trails.
Hello, Council. My name is Bruce English. I'm the past president and board member of the Platte River Trails. I'm joined by Chris Smith, our treasurer. I thought I might need him if there were any numbers questions, but apparently the questions are minimal, so that's good. Thank you for this opportunity to present the Platte River Trails plans to utilize the upcoming 1 cent funding opportunities. The Board of Directors would like to thank the City of Casper for their past partnerships with the Platte River Trails. This has indeed been a partnership in the truest sense of the word, as each of us has contributed funds to our projects. Last week's presentation by the Platte River Trails to the City of Casper of nearly $50,000 to go towards our joint project of Phase 2 of the trails going up to Rotary Park at Casper Mountain clearly shows how the Platte River Trails generates funds from other sources and contributes to the projects. We will continue our efforts to access funding that the city is not able to get to further our partnership. One of our proposed projects is a valuable infrastructure project that will provide expansion of our trail system to several thousand residents of River West and beyond. With the anticipated bridge over the North Platte River near Robertson Road, many of the residents will be able to use the trail system for transportation and recreational purposes. We are also proposing several other projects that will provide additional connecting trails that will further the non-motorized transportation access throughout the community. Our trails provide important infrastructure transportation access that allows all citizens to travel to their destinations via walking or bicycle, free of charge, which are both becoming more important to the healthy lifestyle and continued good health. Our trail system provides free transportation access and benefits to a very large cross-section of Casper users. The money spent on the trails benefits a large number of citizens. The trail counters that the city installed over an 11-month period, probably about a year ago now, showed 274,813 user trips on the trails. Our efforts are wide-reaching. Please consider our request for funding as the best ways to promote the benefits to the Casper citizens. The Platte River Trails is seeking $1 million in 1 cent 16 funds, $800,000 for the projects and $200,000 for operation support. We've identified several non-motorized trail infrastructure projects to be addressed through the 1 cent cycle, and we have socialized these projects with the city and received input on the projects that were selected. Although the Platte River Trails have tentatively assigned dates to the identified projects, we appreciate the option of having our 1 cent funds allocated to us in a block grant fashion, with the understanding that we will take on projects when the timing is right. The projects that we're talking about, as I discussed, is the extension from Paradise Valley Park to the west of Robertson Road, which includes the bridge over the river. A project along Wyoming Boulevard between Poplar and the Casper Mountain Road to provide a link there, and rehabilitation of the area of the Burlington Northern area behind First Street. In partnership with the River Restoration Project, we're kind of on hold with that, waiting to see how that restoration project develops. And then a Phase 2 of a Robertson Road project, which will continue to loop to some areas out there and to, I think, a proposed city park that will further allow citizen access to the trail system. I have some cost estimates on those projects, but won't go into those now. I'm assuming you all have seen our packet, or the funding request packet that has a lot of information in it. The Platte River Trails seeks to leverage 1 cent funds with other funds donated to our organization from other grantors, private individuals, and fundraising events and efforts.
30 seconds.
With that, I will stop. If there were any questions, we'd take them.
Go ahead, Councilman Morgan.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question. Are you going to also be asking for 1 cent funding from the county?
No.
For any of these projects?
We did that 2 cycles ago.
Okay.
We had trouble getting to approve projects and stuff. We're finally using that up currently. We didn't have a good luck requesting the county.
Okay. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, guys. Great, thank you. Mercer Family Resource Center.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
I'm Corey Burton with Mercer Family Resource Center, the executive director, and I have with me Debbie Huber, who's our HR and fiscal manager, and then Britlin Bolgren, who's our Youth Empowerment Council facilitator. So thank you guys so much for your service to our community and all that you do for Casper and our agency. Mercer Family Resource Center provides education, counseling, and prevention services that build stronger and healthier youth and families in Natrona County. We have served Casper since 1971, and we have about 3,000 youth and families that we reach each year through our various tiers of service, which is what Debbie Huber just passed out to you. The first tier is our parenting classes, and through those we focus a lot on not only child development, but stress reduction, communication, appropriate discipline, mutual respect. The second tier of service, we do our early intervention classes for youth, so really great kids just made a bad choice. Our program and classes are offered to them in lieu of having to get involved with the juvenile justice system, so our focus is to keep them in school, focus also on staying in sports, not having a juvenile record. So any kid that's caught drinking, fighting, smoking, shoplifting, we'll usually elect through youth diversion to do our programs and services. Our counseling classes are also offered in Spanish. Those are for individual youth, also adults and families. A lot of our education classes also do focus on adults. Our niche is pretty much youth in the community, but we do serve both. We also have two programs that are really near and dear to us that share our mission and vision in this community. One is the Natrona County Prevention Coalition, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, but the other is the Youth Empowerment Council. Both Mercer and YEC have been funded with city dollars in the past, YEC through the general each year, and then Community Action Partnership is what funded a portion of Mercer. So I will let Britlin share a little bit about YEC's mission.
So the Youth Empowerment Council is a substance-free responsible group of young leaders that collaborate to better the community, support one another, grow, inspire youth, and lead by example, for youth by youth. So that's what we really like to stick to, is the for youth by youth. Currently, the Youth Empowerment Council has 3 programs that we are a part of. One is this SPAT, which is our Suicide Prevention Awareness Team, and with that we go into the school district and we do presentations for grades from 3rd grade on up to 12th grade about warning signs, risk factors, protective factors, and resources for our youth in our community that are dealing with suicide or may know someone. We also have our BAT, which is our bullying awareness team, and again, it focuses on risk factors and resources for youth in our communities that they may need those resources. Our newest program that we have is #YAmplify. And with this program, we want to offer youth in our community other opportunities to focus on, such as outdoor activities, bowling, maybe swimming, anything that to get them outside and making good choices rather than using substances and making those bad choices in our community. So that is one of the newest programs that we have, and our youth have taken it on and had so much fun with it, and we are hoping to continue that here in the next year.
The other things that we do each year, just annual events that we try to keep you guys updated through our newsletters and things. We do Family Day, we do the community baby shower, we do family game night, things like that. The funding that we're requesting this year is an average of the funding that we've received each year. We asked for $22,500 for YEC, which is what we usually receive from the city general, and then $25,000, the average what we usually get from community action partnerships. So over 4 years, it's $190,000. It's about $47,500 each year. So again, thank you for the support, and if you have any questions.
30 seconds if anybody has anything.
30 seconds?
I think they're good.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Children's Advocacy Project.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Stacy Nelson. I'm the Executive Director for Children's Advocacy Project. So we have been in existence in Casper since 2002, and the whole intent, CACs are like a nationwide presence in lots of states. Wyoming has 3 in our state. So the main purpose is for us to be able to conduct forensic interviews so we can respond to child abuse cases. It's basically trying to help law enforcement investigators. So when they have any type of child abuse, witness to crime, so we've done witness to homicide, witness to domestic violence, drug endangered kids situations. The most prevalent, unfortunately, is the sexual abuse cases. So when those instances happen, they call us and schedule an interview, sometimes on an emergency basis, and we have staff that conducts the forensic interviews of the kids. So it's a lot more child-friendly, I guess you could say, than for the kids to have to go into the police station. We also have victim advocates on staff that help the parents through the process, help them complete the victim's compensation paperwork, which can be tricky at times. So make referrals, make sure they're doing counseling. We do follow-up calls and contact with them. We also provide therapy services. It's mostly trauma-focused for those kids that are going through that, and the term is the non-offending families. So we help, obviously, if the family member's a suspect, we don't have contact with them, but we let the law enforcement side deal with that. But we try to provide those services to the kids and their families. We also focus on trying to provide some education to the community. So we have staff that they currently go into Dean Morgan Junior High, and they do some body safety classes with every 8th grade student going through the life skills class, I believe it's what it's called. And it helps talk to them about just body safety and the dangers of social media. Sometimes we've had a lot of cases over the last year probably with that we actually work with FBI sometimes too, if there are cases that are crossing state lines, or if it's a situation where it's through social media, things like that. So we talk to them about those dangers because it gets pretty spooky, and sometimes the kids, they're 13 years old, they don't quite understand sometimes what the issue is as far as when we parents get nervous when they're doing things. So we also provide a training every year called the CAP Symposium, and we provide that free to law enforcement, DFS. It's whatever MDT members can come in, and when I say MDT, it's the District Attorney's Office, law enforcement from all the different agencies, and we actually provide that from statewide. And we try to bring people in that are national speakers. Last year we had someone from the National Criminal Justice Training Center come, and they talked about how to interview kids that are going through child sex trafficking, because that's becoming, unfortunately, again, more popular. And then we had someone else come in and speak, and both of them have spoken at like the international conferences on child and family maltreatment, for instance, in San Diego. And she focused on kind of the aspect of what to watch out for the sex offenders, because she has spent her career working with sex offenders, and so she's got some great programs. She travels all over to provide training. So we really try to provide some really beneficial training. We get feedback from officers and things of what kind of things they would like to see. So currently we're working on a corroborating the evidence training, so that when they come in and help, they monitor the interviews and they go through that, they can kind of see, okay, what do we need to go out and do to corroborate what this child has said. So that's what we're working on right now for this coming year's training. So those are kind of the quick rundown so we can keep our focus. The main thing is just giving those kids the chance to tell their story and get it out there. There's studies all over the place that say the quicker the kids can be able to tell their story of what's happening to them and they can start receiving treatment, the less long-term effects it will have on that child, which it gets a little confusing, but they talk about all the economic impact on communities and everything else, because as they get older, if they haven't dealt with that trauma, they tend to have more illnesses and more issues at work. And so we just try to get them the help right away when they're young and get them going. So we do interviews from as young as 2 years old, if they're verbal and they can talk about what's happened to them, up to 18. And then we also conduct interviews on vulnerable adults. So as you can see in our request, we're requesting $160,000. And that breaks down to $40,000 a year, and that helps with our salaries. Of our 5 full-time staff, 3 of them are licensed therapists, and they are all trained forensic interviewers, and they've all had 2 different protocols of training. We use a specific one, but they've been to training on 2 different ones just so they can have an understanding of what works best. And then it also will help with some of our costs associated with training. We just sent another person to the Stewards of Children training. So that's a community-based training for adults that
30 seconds.
okay, so right now we partner with True Care, and we train all of their clients that are coming through as new parents. So I will leave it at that. You guys have our packet, so you have all the specifics. So do you have any questions?
Yeah, go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, do other municipalities or perhaps boards contribute to your program through 1 cent?
Yes, actually, well, through 1 cent, no. I had to double check with the county. We do receive funds from the county, but it's not 1% funds. We had previously received funds through Natura County Community Action Partnership, and so we've applied through that reallocation funding that used to be through Community Action. So previously, we've received about 17,000 from them. So, but the county puts it through their process in a different budget.
Okay. Thanks for the information and
You're
everything
welcome.
you do.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Get one more. No, you're good.
Stacy, could you just, for the benefit of council, explain some of the problems that can happen if a child is interviewed by someone who isn't properly trained, and how that can affect the case and the prosecution?
Absolutely. The main focus of a forensic interview is it is completely non-leading. And I will tell you, I worked in residential facilities in South Dakota and here in Casper for 22 years working with troubled teens. And, we were always trying to do open-ended questions, and I thought I understood that until I actually witnessed a forensic interview happening. I was like, wow, this is completely different. It's even more so open-ended. And a lot of times when people aren't trained, they tend to ask too many leading questions, which can really taint the interview, and it can create lots of openings for the defense attorneys to go after the whole case. So with a forensic interview, they can't introduce any evidence. So if we have a child that comes in, say on a physical abuse case, for instance, we can't say, oh, we heard, Joe hit you last night. We can't say anything like that. It's just very open-ended. So as soon as the child says something about what happened, a lot of times they'll just start out, can you tell me why you're here? And sometimes the kids know. Obviously, the little kids don't. So we take a lot of that information. We get the basics. They actually try to not get all of the specifics from law enforcement ahead of time prior to the interview, because they don't want to have, the interviewers don't want to have that in their head, so they can just strictly ask the open-ended questions. And once in the middle of the interview, that's why we have the monitoring room. They can go ask the interview or the MDT, so the investigators, is there anything you want clarification on? So for instance, we had several sexual assault cases with teenagers and adults who were making contact through this Whisper app, is what it was called. So when the kids were being picked up by the suspects, they were, they would say, well, they picked me up in this vehicle. Well, then during the break, they would go in and say, is there anything you need? And so they would ask for more specifics. So they'd be able to go back in and say, okay, you mentioned that you were picked up by, this person in this vehicle. Can you describe the vehicle in more detail? Can you tell me what the inside looks like? So they're not the ones that said, so I heard you were picked up in this truck. It was the child that said that initially, and then they can get more information. So it's just much more open-ended, because that's the main thing. It's also helpful because typically if a child goes through a CEC process, they only have to tell their story maybe 3 or 4 times from the time they first initial disclosed any information. When there's not a CAC involved, a lot of times it's up to 12 times that they're telling their story, and then that creates more possibility of that, tainting the whole thing, because little kids, they don't always remember anything. So we also try to do the interviews right away when the incident happens. So does that help?
Yeah. You bet.
Yes, the interviews are recorded on a DVD, and then that is immediately given to the investigator so that it can go into evidence for the prosecution.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, thanks.
Joshua Storehouse. Joshua Storehouse here. Casper Sports Alliance. Hi, John.
Howdy. How's everybody doing tonight? First of all, I want to say thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and certainly for previous funding that you've given the Casper Sports Alliance in the past. The timing systems that you guys approved the expenditure on, we really appreciate. Visit Casper supported the remaining amount of money to get those timing systems. A lot of people up here talked about investments, but certainly the events that we held for those, with those timing systems and expanded and grew, made them better, generated through direct spending and sales tax and 1 cent optional tax enough money to pay all you guys back. So thank you very much for that. And when you're thinking about what I'm requesting, think about the investment that we're making, the events that we're hosting here, all generate direct spending, all generate sales tax, all generate this 1 cent optional tax. So I've heard investment used a lot before, but this truly is an investment because you're going to get this money back in the long term. Everything that I've asked for in my package is to actually put the games on, put the events on that we have coming into Casper. None of it goes to salary, none of it goes to overhead, none of it goes to travel, anything like that. That's all paid for through Visit Casper. So all of these items that I'm talking about is to help make the events happen. And without those expenditures, without having those, the events can't happen. We're working diligently to bring more events into the destination. As an example, I've got 4 RFPs that are sitting on my desk right now from the Professional Disc Golf Association. The Worlds, the Masters, the Women's, and the Amateurs. And what we want to do is we want to bring that event here to Casper. We'll use Bull Snake, but the other part that I want to talk to the city a little bit about more in the future is I want to use the Muni as well. We would put in baskets for the PDGA. Carter's always looking for a way to make more out of the facilities that you already have. My thought process goes along the line, well, now you have a golf course, but now you can charge green fees for your PDGA people that want to come in and play there as well. They can play Bull Snake for free, but geez, you know, you get on a nice, beautiful golf course, that's a whole new ball of wax. Not only that, you got hills and stuff like that out there at Muni. So again, it's one of those things that we're working on. We're bringing these events to Casper. We want to make your facilities better. We can do that through the events that we host. I'm working with the Amateur Athletic Union for wrestling, basketball, and volleyball. Power to Play for basketball. We're working on expanding some baseball tournaments here. I'm going to bring in an axe and knife throwing competition, and I want you all to know right now there's a place for you in that competition. It's called the Wheel of Death, but hey, don't get excited about it. We're also trying to bring in a criterium that we want to hold in downtown Casper. And for those of you that remember the Casper Classic that used to happen here regularly every year, what we're trying to do is introduce the little bits and pieces of that that are going to make it, they're going to survive, and they're going to bring more people into Casper. You know, the challenges that we have really are the venue fees, the officials, bringing in quality officials. You can pay an official anything, but if you don't have a good quality one, it's going to make the difference in your event. The marketing costs, just to get the word out to the people around Wyoming to come into Casper and the surrounding states. As an example, our Bear Bait 8 mountain bike race that we held the other day, 5 different states came into that event. Just the medals and the awards, and oftentimes there are bid fees that need to be paid to make that event happen. Fortunately, 99% of the time, those bid fees go right back into the tournament to make them happen. You know, one of the great things, you know, everybody's got these really great reasons to be here tonight. And what we provide, I think, is an opportunity for a lot of them, like that Mercer family. You know, they're talking about getting the kids involved in sports and events and that kind of thing. Well, you know, we're a conduit for them to happen. But we provide something also to the city of Casper and to our residents, and that's quality of life components. Being able that they're going to have the opportunity to compete in tournaments of all different kinds. We hold like 23 different sporting events through the Casper Sports Alliance, and all those events are different. The quality of life issue for our residents is that they get to go do fun stuff. They can go watch fun stuff. We did the cornhole tournament the other night down at Gaslight Social. It was a riot. Everybody was cheering. It was really wonderful. But, you know, the businesses, we talk with a lot of businesses about making sure that they have an opportunity to sell the destination to businesses that are recruiting, and to the employees as well. When the PD came to us and asked us to help recruit people to come to Casper to be police officers, it's what we do that makes that more attractive to those people. I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to present to you today. Certainly time for questions. I'm ready to take them. But if y'all want to get a hold of me individually after the fact and ask me more specific stuff, I'm right there for you, and I'll answer any questions you have.
Thank you, John.
Good to go. All right. Thanks, fellas, ladies.
Youth Crisis Center. Hi, Tracy.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm Tracy Blevins. I'm the director of the Youth Crisis Center here in Casper. At the Youth Crisis Center, we provide emergency shelter, crisis intervention, and group home services to youth and families in the community. We are a 24-hour center, so we accept and provide services all day long, all night long, holidays, weekends, evenings. We're there all the time. So we have a very amazing staff, and we're really grateful for them. We provide 3 programs. We provide our crisis shelter, we provide our group home, and we provide wraparound services. Rather than talk about those individually, I'd rather share kind of our 4 focus areas. So the first focus area that all of our programs access or provide is that we provide a safe environment and meet basic human needs. So for example, we provide safe shelter, food, clothing, crisis and family planning. Just for example, last year we provided shelter for 598 youth. We provided 6,485 meals, and our team did an estimated 1,600 loads of laundry to keep kids in clean clothes and bedding. Our second program focus is to support education and increase the likelihood of success. We provide homework help, and in partnership with the school district, we receive 1 hour of tutoring during the school day for those kids who can't be in school. We transport all of our youth crisis shelter kiddos to and from school every day. In fact, last year we transported 528 youth to 4 high schools, 6 middle schools, and 6 elementary schools. We provided 135 hours of homework help to 598 youth. That's about 80,000 direct homework help hours. The third thing we strive to do is we strengthen family and provide community resources. Through all of our programs at different levels, we work with the family as a whole. We strive to provide resources that build supports in the family so that when the youth return home, there's more supports at home and they have a higher likelihood of success. 85% of our youth last year and their families received resources and access to resources through our staff. The fourth thing that we do is we provide advanced life skills and increase goal achievement. We strive to assist in building life skills that help youth become healthy and successful adults, and we work on coping skills, setting and achieving goals, learning about personal responsibility, building healthy relationships, and so much more with our staff who serve as mentors and case managers. We're often asked about trends we see with youth and families, and the trend we see is more. Kids are coming to us with more poverty, more needs, more substance use issues with them and also in their home, more abuse, more neglect, and more trauma. More mental health challenges. This understanding of needs of this idea of more help and more support really is shaping what we're doing over the next several years. The funding requested of the city would continue to assist us in providing the services that we're already doing, but also would help us to grow what we're currently doing to address the needs that we identify, which we believe will assist in meeting the many more challenges that the youth and families are faced with. We're currently building a strengths-based case management program with a therapeutic support and oversight. This is designed to engage youth from the empowerment perspective, steering away from punitive efforts, which we believe will create higher levels of long-term success. Each of our programs are striving to work more deeply with the family to both prevent out-of-home placement and to support success when they leave our care or to return home. We recognize the need to provide trauma-informed care to youth and have begun the training of our team to continue that trauma-informed care, and we're excited about building policies that are also trauma-informed care based. Our crisis management has grown and will continue to grow even on our crisis side, where in the past we focused solely on meeting basic needs and providing that crisis help in that moment. We recognize a need to support families and assist in building family plans, so when youth return home after crisis, there are supports and guides in place for that family and for that youth. You can see by our funding request, we're asking for funding that goes directly to the care of youth. Even the salaries we requested are direct care staff, so they work directly with youth to provide services. Case managers, the cooks provide the meals for the youth, and our clinical supervisor works directly with those youth and their case plans. Staff trainings will continue to assist us to build the ability for our youth, our staff, to do a better job of working with youth who are struggling with suicidal ideation, self-harm, and the variety of diagnoses that we see in those kids. Of course, cooking, building, and equipment maintenance, those are all used by the youth that we serve. We're requesting a total of $329,964. So it's $82,491 for the 4-year cycle. We're just so grateful again for the opportunity we have to present. And do you have any questions?
We're good. Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you all so much.
Katzie.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Katzie's 1 cent request is $428,000 per year, which is a total of $1.7 million over 4 years. That amount is targeted to 4 needs: shifting some of the operations funding for Katzie from general fund to 1 cent, meeting the increase in hourly fees at the city garage, and a 2.5% cost of living raise for Katzie employees, and funding for a subsidized fare program for low-income riders. First, the proposed shift from general fund. Katzie has been a city-owned and managed transit system since the city began it in 1979. Katzie operates the system through a city contract. Funding that flows to the city from the federal government is leveraged based on local match. Historically, the city's share of the match came from general fund. 1 cent money was added as a local match source in 1999 and successive years to expand the service to weekends. For this fiscal year, funding from the general fund for local match was reduced. Stopgap funding from 1 cent number 15 replaced this year's reduction, but didn't solve the budget shortfall that Katzie is facing. The desired shift away from general fund support continues into coming years. More funding from 1 cent will be needed to augment general fund support to maintain operations without cuts in service. Regarding the garage fees, in 2018, the city garage hourly rate was increased from $58 to $85 an hour. Because federal rules require that bus preventive maintenance and repair be done at the city garage, the 47% increase in hourly fees increased Katzie's projected service and repair budget. Regarding the employee cost of living increase, because of cuts made to Katzie's budget in prior years at the city's direction, the last wage increase for Katzie employees was 4 years ago. Our drivers are long-term employees who are highly trained for the work they do. Starting wage for our drivers is currently $15, well below the city average of $22 to $26 for city equipment drivers. Regarding the low-income fare subsidy, with the end of CDBG funding, the subsidized fare program ended. Katzie has applied for some grants that may provide a limited amount of funding, but a commitment of 1 cent money could guarantee assistance for those who have no other financial source of income to devote for transit for their daily needs. I tried to save enough time for questions because I thought you would probably have some.
We have about 3 minutes, so. Councilman Laird, and then we'll go to Councilman Morgan.
So I got an email about the fact that this one funding source was cut off. That's the one that we cut because the paperwork was too heavy for us to do.
The
So we're not
CDBG.
applying for the 360,000. So what it said was there's people that can't afford to ride the bus at all when these tokens run out. Is that true?
Yes,
So is there's just no funds for them after this last deal? When will that money run out? When will you need money for tokens so people can ride that bus?
the money already ran out. We got a grant from the Wells Fargo Foundation. I've written 3 grants. The Wells Fargo Foundation sent us $2,000. The check came in 1st of August. We're already using that money because there is no other money.
And when that money runs out, what happens?
There's no money.
What happens then to these elderly people that have no money? How are they going to get their medicine and stuff?
They don't have a ride.
So you need money right away.
Well, we need money for many things. Katzie's budget still has a shortfall. After you put in some stopgap funding to make up for the general fund cut, we're still about $150,000 short for this year. We've looked at tweaking some routes and things like that, as you suggested. That's in process. We've saved some money from tire purchase by going through the city garage. They get a discount at one of the tire places. But the amount of money we can actually save by tweaking doesn't cover the cuts that resulted in federal funding and the garage increase and things like a higher cost of fuel.
So are there people right now that can't afford to get on the bus?
I'm sure there are.
That aren't being able to get on the bus to get their medications and stuff?
I'm sure there are.
So if they come to the bus, will the bus driver let them on anyway, or they turn them away?
Well, what
I
we
just want to
tried,
know how bad this situation is, Carol, that's all I want.
people can come to, we have the $2,000. So we have had a number of people that have come to the Katzie office and said, I need to go to wherever, and we have given them tickets and tokens based on having that money. But once that money runs out, we won't have that source of funding either. I should hear from the Community Foundation grant in the second week of September. We asked them for $12,000 because, like all foundations, they have a maximum you can ask for. We've also asked the Rotary Foundation to kick in some money. But that CDBG money with a match was $70,000. So we can't possibly make that up from foundations and donations and et cetera. That's why we're asking for 1 cent. But probably the most critical need is we have to fund the system. We don't want to cut service. You don't want us to cut service. So the funding has to come from somewhere. If it doesn't come from the general fund, it has to come from 1 cent because we really have no other options for funding.
Thank you for that really bad news. I thought that's what you were going to say.
Well, I knew I wasn't going to make you happy, but I guess
I'm not happy about that at all.
I guess that's not my
We could
job.
have solved this problem. For some reason, some people didn't want to do it. But we'll see if we can get it figured out somehow.
Councilman Morgan.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience.
Carol, I think Councilman Morgan had something for you.
Thank you, Mayor. And just real quick, Carol, you answered one of my questions, which is, when you're going to hear back from the places that you had applied for grants. The next thing is that the Wyoming CDBG funds are there, but we would have to be the ones that would ask the state for that. So I guess, I don't know if that's passed by a resolution, so I'm not sure if that avenue is being pursued at all, right now.
I don't know what your process is for accessing CDBG again. I don't know if that's possible, but
Well, the state would be distributing it to you as opposed to us getting it from the state. It's,
no, the way CDBG money works, it's federal funding. So it has to come to the city, and then the city allocates it under the federal guidelines.
Right.
So it can't come to us.
okay.
We can't apply for it, it can't come to us. It would have to come to you.
Thank you. And so I guess just how to go about it, Wyoming does get CDBG funding. And then the next thing I was going to say that over the next 4 years, you don't have any itemized areas for your fleet. So I was curious to know, do you anticipate having to get a new bus for some of the miles that are already?
The buses are funded primarily by a combination of federal funding, state funding, and a city local match.
Okay.
The city local match is about 20% of the total cost of a bus. As part of our budget, we have capital expenditures figured in that will include the money we get from YDOT and the federal money. But that's a separate part of the budget.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So council, we think we can make a decision if we'd like to. We're pretty far behind. If we skip this break, we could move on and get somewhat on topic. So, Carrie, you feeling you can go? You're good? Alrighty. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, and thank you. I am Carrie Reese. I'm the Executive Director of the National Historic Trails Center Foundation. With me is Bill Mortimer, our Board President, and Jim Beck, our Board Treasurer. First, I want to thank you for hearing our proposal. We are grateful to the City of Casper and the taxpayers who make the 1 cent possible and support the great work being done in our community by nonprofit entities. First, although many of you may be familiar, I want to explain the mission of the Trail Center Foundation to you. The National Historic Trails Center is the crossroads of the West. It's a public-private, congressionally mandated partnership, and it was created to promote and preserve the heritage surrounding the pathways to the West and to foster appreciation, insight, and understanding. The center is dedicated to providing archival and educational programs and services to increase public awareness of the historic trails and to enrich tourism to the area in an accessible and responsible manner. To that end, we have welcomed over 26,000 visitors this fiscal year and over 400,000 visitors to the center since it opened in 2002. We welcome school children from Casper, fourth graders especially, throughout the state of Wyoming and bordering states, and then we welcome guests from around the world. It is an honor to represent Casper to our many visitors, and all of our staff are CTA trained through Visit Casper. In fact, the BLM partners with Visit Casper and has an employee on site each weekend to guide visitors to other Casper attractions, including lodging and food. We are very proud of the role that the center plays in tourism for Casper, Wyoming. Through our partnership, the Bureau of Land Management owns and maintains the building and the surrounding property, staffs the center with wonderful interpreters, covers all of the facility's utility costs, and then facilitates educational programming, including trail treks, youth docent program, and weekend patio talks. The foundation, which is what we represent in our request, owns and maintains the world-class exhibits in each gallery showcasing the legacies of the Oregon, California Gold Rush, Mormon, and Pony Express trails. From 1840 through 1890, over 500,000 people came across the United States and crossed the North Platte River for the last time here at Casper. The heritage of the historic trails and the pioneers we honor is shared with great pride by all of us. I hope that each of you have visited the Trail Center and experienced the hands-on displays that bring to life what happened along the routes of the world's largest voluntary human migration in history. Our request includes 4 separate pieces that are in need of repair and upgrade: keeping the exhibits in working condition, maintaining their educational value, and bringing visitors an exceptional experience are the goals that we strive to achieve. So after 400,000 uses, our exhibits need attention just as the wagons and animals who pulled them across the United States in the 1800s needed attention. They have been touched by many, many hands, large and small. So we have sun damage to our giant Wyoming map, and it is at this map that visitors conclude their tour of our center, make ready to head out across Wyoming in search of trails, historical sites, markers, even other communities. The Trail Center is the springboard to the rest of Wyoming, and it's where the adventure begins at our giant map. So we would like to replace it. The screens in our theater gallery are the original technology from the 1990s when the planning occurred for the Trail Center. And in our last 1 cent proposal that you granted, we upgraded to laser projectors and new digital quality for the movie that we play each day. We play it on the hour and then sometimes the half hour. It's an 18-minute film and it's really, really exquisite. So the next logical upgrade is to the screens upon which the movie is shown. Our Mormon handcart exhibit simulates the experience of pulling a cart across rough terrain. Using a pulse counter and a treadmill, this mechanism is about 20 years old, and it's in need of an upgrade. It's a really popular exhibit piece and used a great deal daily, especially by children. Finally, our telegraph exhibit in our Pony Express gallery, which is very simple mechanics, is in need of an overhaul. It is also 20 years old. We have some pretty neat vision for extending that across the center and teaching Morse code to anybody who is interested in learning it. So each of these possibilities brings improvement and fresh appeal to our visitors. The foundation is dedicated to ensuring that the National Historic Interpretive Center will remain as vibrant and relevant to our community as it was in 2002 when it opened. For many, many years to come, we believe we are a valuable part of Casper's history as well as its future. Thank you. That's about as fast as
Councilman,
I've ever talked.
that was good. Go ahead, Councilman Morgan.
Really quick, is the county giving any 1 cent funds to you guys, or are you?
We have
applying?
not applied for any county 1 cent funds.
Okay, and do you intend to?
I do not intend to, unless you'd like to make that recommendation, then I'll go research it.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Carrie.
No other questions?
Good. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Kadoma Foundation.
Council, thank you so much for giving us this time tonight to come and visit with you. I am Paula Reed, and I'm Vice President of the Kadoma Foundation. And I have with me in the audience Eric Coates, who is our new home manager for the Bishop Home. And I have some of our board members back there as well. So what I have for you tonight is a little bit of history. I'm going to take you back about 300 years, and I'm going to do it in 5 minutes and 10 seconds. So here we go. We are talking about the Capitol Hill Museum Complex, which is something that we would like to help get started. This is a proposal for the purchase and site development of a vacant 27,000 square foot lot adjoining ours at 818 East 2nd Street. Why is this important to Casper as well as the Kadoma Foundation? What are the benefits for Casper's residents and visitors? The only asset owned by the Kadoma Foundation is the Bishop Home, and it is valuable. We haven't had an appraisal, but it is a nice, valuable piece of property. It is the only family home museum here in Casper, and I will share with you its importance to Casper and how the expansions will generate new sales tax revenues and help sustain the Bishop family home as an integral starting point of a walking trail through the historic downtown Casper Center, tying the Capitol Hill addition to the old Yellowstone district. The mixed-use facility will honor the historic character of the Capitol Hill addition, preserve and enhance the accessibility to the historic Bishop Family Home Museum, and provide a revenue stream for its future, anchor the east end of the 2nd Street Capitol Hill area to complete the 3-mile corridor to OYD through historic downtown Casper, convert a blighted area into a green space with parking, retail shops, and a unique early 20th century print shop that will become a tourist attraction. Acquiring the property and developing the site plan is the cornerstone of this proposal. We envision a multi-use facility that includes retail shops. We are requesting 1 cent money in the amount of $450,000 as the first tranche to purchase the vacant land and begin plans to develop the property. Additional funding will be needed to complete the full project. Let me tell you why this area is historically so significant to Casper. Did you know that the home's builder owner, Marvin L. Bishop, links our community back to pre-American Revolutionary days? Imagine a time some 300 years ago when a young boy about 7 years old was playing with his very large, handsome dog on the beach close to his home in the shores of the Channel Isles of England. His play was abruptly ended when a landing party of pirates approached because their captain wanted his dog. He fervently argued, so they took him and the dog. His name was Eleazar Bishop, and after reaching New London, Connecticut, Eleazar was sold to a farmer, and the pirates kept his dog. That is a long ways back, but following that, 6 generations later, in 1988, Eleazar's descendant, Marvin L. Bishop, migrated to Wyoming. That same year, J. Merritt and C.W. Eads pitched a tent near present-day McKinley and A Streets and established Casper. Old Town was erected in the area, which later became Casper's second subdivision called Capitol Hill. The Bishop family home was built in 1907, is still standing, and is Casper's only historic urban home museum. This 1% request will enable us to start a development that will anchor the eastern edge of Casper's historic downtown and connect it all the way to the OYD.
30 seconds.
We plan We plan to build an area that will showcase those historic businesses that started Casper. We work very much with the local schools. We tour the 3rd grade classes. We give them coaching and lessons on how Mr. Bishop was a very integral part of starting Casper. He was a city councilman, a county commissioner, started the wool growers, built the First Methodist Church. So very, very in tune to being a part of the community. So this development can enhance an unused lot, provide an area to increase visitors' knowledge of historic Casper, encourage people to walk west through Casper and enjoy the present and the past, and also provide retail spaces that would produce sales tax income for the city and pay rents to help provide the Kadoma Foundation with operating capital needed to take care of these properties. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't think there's any questions. Thank you. We have Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Dave Branson. I'm the outreach coordinator for Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and Amanda, our branch manager, is with me. Big Brothers Big Sisters currently offers one-to-one mentoring programs to students to children aged 5 through 18, as well as we're involved in a youth prevention program as well. We serve about 134 youth in 2017, and of those youth, 83% of them exceed or meet federal poverty levels. We are asking for $270,199, which breaks down to $67,550 over the next 4 years. Our current operating budget is a little bit over $150,000 a year. These funds cover 40% of our full-time positions, as well as they would help with facility needs, rental, et cetera. We currently struggle to remain competitive in the job market, as we roughly pay about 60% of what our competitors do in pay. Also, with the cost of benefits increasing, we really need the city's help to help attract good employees and to keep them. In addition, we hope to continue growing our services to serve more families and youth in our community so that we can have an impact that can be measured on a community-wide basis and not just on an individual basis. We depend heavily on community partnerships and volunteers. We constantly seek out community members who are willing to step up and help us with their time as volunteers to create a positive influence on children. Our mentors don't get paid, they're volunteers, and their sole purpose is to concentrate on the positive growth and individual needs of a child. As part of a statewide organization that serves 7 different communities in Wyoming, the funding our office receives and goes directly to support for Casper children and Casper families. Our expenses include recruitment for both littles and volunteers, layered background checks for every volunteer. We do a very extensive background check system. We also have extensive support of our matches, our families, and our children. And in addition, the monies would also help support salaries in all of our youth activities. We don't send our bigs and littles out into the community without an extensive training program, and we are constantly working with them to ensure the best quality experience for those children with their bigs. By tracking each child, we have found that our program is making an impact in our community. 84% of our children in our program are more likely to stay in school and graduate. 67% of our littles finish college. 48% are less likely to use illegal drugs. 27% have shown improvement in school absenteeism. So the truancy rate has gone down amongst our littles and the children in our youth prevention program, progressive youth program. We also have seen a direct impact on the community as the Toronto County High School graduation rates have increased over the past 5 years, and we feel that we are a part of that improvement. Our progressive youth program is making tremendous impact, not only in Toronto County, but the entire state. This program works with kids who are in the court system and who are under supervision of the juvenile probation system. Our program offers educational, recreational, and mentoring services, and as well as life skills training for the youth in an effort to make a positive impact on their feeling of self-worth and future choices. Our main goal is lowering the rate of community placements, which cost the state on an average of $88,000 a year if they're in the juvenile system. Our cost is $1,000 a year per child, which is roughly an $87,000 a year savings when they're not placed in some type of a juvenile program or facility. In conclusion, Big Brothers and Big Sisters is currently working with many community organizations to make certain that Casper is one of the top places that they would like to raise their families and to live. Our goal is that our Casper youth will successfully graduate high school, seek higher education, and get great jobs. We want to see them live in their hometown and find this as a great place to grow up and to raise their families, and to enter our workforce as skilled and ready professionals and workers, contributing to the ongoing growth of our community. We hope to create a healthier and happier community where they will want to be members and productive parts of society. We also would like to thank you for your past support with the 1 cent tax, and thank you for your future consideration. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think there's no questions. Thank you. Child Development Center. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and council members, for having us this evening. I wanted to provide you with a brief history and some of the services that the Child Development Center provides. And it keeps me on track to have a PowerPoint, so that's what is going around. The Child Development Center started in 1967 in just a small church here in Casper and has grown to what it is today. Our services include providing preschool, early intervention services such as occupational, speech, and physical therapy, as well as a developmental screening program. So we serve children from birth to 5, and each year we average about 425 children on an IEP. So that's an individualized education plan. So they are receiving some form of therapy, speech, occupational, behavior, cognitive therapy, and physical therapy. We also have 130 paid preschoolers, and we provide 1,400 free development screenings to kiddos in the community. We do receive state and federal funding, but that averages about $34 per day to provide the services that we do to the number of children that we serve. On the next page, you'll see just a number of different diagnoses that we serve at the Child Development Center, ages, again, 0 to 5. Those ranging from ADHD to Down syndrome to Prader-Willi to just a number of different syndromes that our therapists have to be on top of to handle the children of our community. The CDC experienced huge budget cuts in 2016 and 2017 from the state. That was about $860,000 to our program, and we still had to serve the same number of children. So mind you, our program is bigger than some of the elementary schools in Casper. So that caused us to eliminate the food program, reduce staff, and close some of our classrooms, and leaving us to not be able to make needed improvements to the program and capital items of the CDC. Our 1 cent funding request, we respectfully request $100,000, so it'd be $25,000 a year for the next 4 years. That would go towards remodeling our screening and therapy room so we can serve even more children with therapy services and development screenings, which are free, as well as fund operations for additional free development screenings for the community. We recently received a mobile screening unit from Sunny's RV to be able to take out to community events, other preschools, home daycares to get children screened for free. So that funding would just help offset our costs to be able to do that. So in the end, why support the Child Development Center? Each year, the Child Development Center graduates children 0 to 5 off of an individualized education plan. Just to put it in perspective, the school district receives $18,000 per child on an IEP, and we receive about $8,500 per child on an IEP to provide the services that we do. And this year, we exited 140 children successfully to kindergarten, seamlessly ready to go, which is awesome. And additionally, the CDC hasn't requested 1 cent funding since 2006. We would only request it when we need it, and that's why we're requesting it now, because of the huge cuts that we received. I wanted to leave you with a story of one of our kiddos. On the next page, you'll see her. Her name is Clover. She was diagnosed with Prader-Willi syndrome when she was 6 months old. She came to us at that time. We provided her with speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy from 6 months old to 5 years old. She took her first steps at the CDC at 3 years old. Prader-Willi syndrome is where pretty much your stomach doesn't talk to your brain. So you can just consume food and to the point where your stomach will burst. And so we had to watch Clover's diet. We had to, it causes low tone and low oxygen.
30 seconds.
We had to build up her tone with physical therapy. And again, she took her first steps at the CDC at 3 years old, and she transitioned to kindergarten this year. It's so exciting. So that's what I have for you. Thank you for your consideration.
Bob.
I have a Prader-Willi grandson.
I know that, Bob.
He's going to 9th grade this year. Had it not been for organizations like yours, that may never happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Iris House. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. As I'm sure you know, there are 3,200 people living in Natrona County with significant mental illness, and many of these live lives in isolation with no friends or family support. My name is Dan Odell, and I'm the Executive Director of the Iris Clubhouse, and I'm also the parent of an adult who lives with a significant and persistent mental illness, and her life has been drastically altered by that illness. And I'm here with Eric Nelson, who's our county attorney and also the president of our board. The Iris Clubhouse is a viable solution to those who live in isolation with mental illness. It's based on the International Clubhouse model, started in New York City in 1948. And that model is currently employed in over 341 clubhouses throughout the world. I wanted to emphasize that what we're doing here with the clubhouse is not duplicated with any of the other mental health services here in Casper. With Clubhouse, individuals can begin leading rich and fulfilling lives. At the same time, reducing hospitalizations, incarcerations, and the need for additional social services. We began here in Casper with a pilot project in November of last year, and we're open 3 days a week from 10 to 2. In that short time period, we've reduced repeat hospitalizations of our members and saved thousands for the taxpayers here at Natrona County. The Iris Clubhouse gives second chances to people living with a mental illness. We're a community of inspiration, and we want you to partner with us, erasing the stigma for those who live with mental illness. The Clubhouse model was included in the Substance Abuse and Mental Services Administration, or SAMHSA's, National Registry for Practices and Programs in 2011. In a study done at a clubhouse in Chicago, the rehospitalization rate for a treatment group after 9 months was 14%, compared with a rate of 44% in a control group. Participation in Clubhouse has proven to reduce recidivism for the mentally ill offenders and improves work readiness. Our board members are comprised of leaders from the mental health community, parents of adults living with mental illness like myself, and other community leaders. We received an endorsement from former Governor Mike Sullivan. He's also a supporter of our clubhouse. And we also have on our board Susan Thomas from the Craig and Susan Thomas Foundation. Our participants go from having little to no friends to enjoying meaningful friendships with colleagues that they can count on. With access to the clubhouse's computers, printers, and supplies, our participants learn skills, write resumes, applications, and do homework in a real-life professional setting. Each day, we work together to prepare a nutritious lunch from scratch. We serve it on china and linens with fresh flowers on the tables. We make infused water with the mint grown in our garden to accompany the meal, and this inspires dignity and self-worth. We currently have 15 active members, and there are many in our community who can benefit. And with your help, we can continue to inspire self-worth for even more. Members of our clubhouse have said that their participation helped them make sense of their world, and it enabled them to build up an inner self-confidence because their recovery happened among their peers. Within 2 years, we believe the Iris Clubhouse will serve 150 adults each year with an active membership of approximately 75 people and an estimated attendance of 25 members. We will help those ready to come back into the workforce find jobs to further strengthen our community. And I want to begin to close with a personal story. One of our members, Pam, who I've known for 4 years, in that time period, before she came to Clubhouse, I had never seen her smile. She lives with a significant persistent mental illness. She's a volunteer with NAMI, or the National Alliance on Mental Illness. She started coming to Clubhouse, and in the second week, she cracked a joke. And it was the first time in 4 years that I had ever heard her smile. Today, she was making jokes about the food that we were preparing today. Pam had said, she's belonged to several churches, AA groups, other support groups.
30 seconds.
And she said, this is the first place where I feel like I belong. So if you're looking for a way to show taxpayers of the city that you're doing something to help those with mental illness, help them out of isolation, the clubhouse is an excellent return on your investment. Thank you.
Thank you. I got to hold on 1 second. Go ahead, Councilman Walsh.
Is your 25,000, is that each year, so this would be a $100,000 total?
Correct.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Dallas.
Do you have a percentage of people who come there that are homeless?
Last year, we had 2 people who were homeless that we did help them find housing. That's part of the program, too. We connect them with social services beyond our place. Well, right now, we're in the pilot project phase, so we're kind of limiting it until we can have additional funding and really open up the doors. But right now, they're referred by their therapist or by their physician.
Thank you so much. Interfaith.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Wendy Lucas. This is Rich Daly. We are board members for Interfaith of Natrona County. Just want to thank you guys for letting us come down and chat with you. To give you just a little bit of a background, Interfaith has been around for 34 years. It was started by a group of individuals, kind of some concerned citizens who wanted more for the community and people that were in need. We're committed to homelessness prevention through a full range of emergency services. Sorry. And our goal is to help homeless and provide services to prevent homelessness in a lot of different ways. Last year we served 5,214 Natrona County residents. Some of the things that we do, everybody that comes gets a full range of case management services, which includes referrals to other agencies that we can see. We try really hard not to duplicate what other agencies are doing, and we have a broad range of services that only we provide. We are able to do some rent assistance and utility shut-off assistance, clothing vouchers, food vouchers, gasoline vouchers. We provide some minor medical and dental assistance, prescription assistance. We have 24-hour emergency bags, as well as some shower passes and laundry passes. One of the things that we're proud of as well is helping people to get birth certificates that can help them either get into housing or that can help them take the next step into getting the Wyoming driver's license, which we also assist with, which can then help them get a job. We also have a way to get them steel-toe boots if they are able to gain employment that way. Historically, we weren't able to receive any, or we haven't received any 1-cent funding, so this is our first request for that. Interfaith of Natrona County has one full-time position, which is our executive director. We have 3 part-time positions, which are 2 case management, housing case management through the HUD program, and then we have 1 administrative assistant, and then the rest of our work is completed through volunteers. We do receive some grants and some assistance from churches and other local community members, but it's been difficult to move forward. We have more of a need in this community than we're able to meet. So one of the reasons we're asking for the money is to assist with some salary situations. We asked for $60,000 annually. 20 of that would go to help with our director salary. 15 would go to help with our support staff. 12 towards our rent, 12 towards some emergency services, and then 1,000 for some computer software services that we are required to have to move forward with some other funding options. If we are able to assist with some of the salary situations, then we can use the other funding we have and reach out and help more community members. Or another desire we have is to hire on another full-time case manager so that we can, again, assist and provide more services within the community. Any questions?
Any questions? I think so. Great. Thanks, Wendy.
Yep, thank you.
Casper Family Connections.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Harleya Lefebvre, Director of Casper Family Connections. Casper Family Connections is the only supervised visitation center here in Casper. We offer supervised visitation, counseling, safe exchanges, parenting, and a co-parenting class. We strive for quality through video and audio recordings as well as live monitoring with written documentation, all of which the courts rely heavily on in order to make custody decisions. To put Casper Family Connections' unique services into perspective, think about a divorced mom and dad with 3 children. The divorce happened due to significant domestic violence, which then escalated to threats to the children. Without CFC, the dynamics of this family are the children would not be able to see their dad, or they would be seeing him in an unsafe, unsecure setting. This could lead the children to experience further exposure to the violence between the parents, increased law enforcement with the family, or a destroyed relationship between the children and their father, which despite everything, they still love. Fortunately, because CFC is available, this family was able to partake in some of this over 6,000 hours of supervised visits provided last year. These supervised visits allowed the dad and his children to share meals together, holiday celebrations, and learn to interact positively. We are proud to say that on average, 80 children a month are able to experience the same type of interaction with a parent they may not have otherwise had a relationship with. This family has now been able to move forward with the parents being able to communicate more effectively. Both mom and dad have participated in our co-parenting group, walking away with hands-on tools that can be used, that they can use to create 2 loving homes for their 3 children. Once completing the court-ordered supervised visits, they continue to use CFC for safe exchanges, which were facilitated 109 times last year to families in our community. This eliminates continued trauma on the children and reduces the potential law enforcement contact that this family had previously experienced. This is only one example of the families we serve every day. We are asking for just over $50,000 a year to supplement our income for our visitation specialists. These individuals are the ones who keep the children we serve safe on a day-to-day basis. By receiving funding for their income, other money we receive for services can be used for daily operating support. And by having this additional funding available for us, it sustains our services by allowing us to be open and available to provide supervised visitation for more hours to more families. At this time, we charge families $35 an hour for a visit. It costs us over $80 an hour to provide that visit. This is where we look for funders to help bridge the gap. We are constantly faced with raising the cost of visits, making them less accessible to single-income families, or to reduce the number of visit hours that can be available to the community. With Casper Family Connections receiving the 1-cent funds, our visitation specialists can continue to provide quality care, which in turn will lower the court and law enforcement need for intervention. This will also allow us to provide additional services such as wraparound care and further parenting support. We appreciate your time and consideration for the 1-cent funding for Casper Family Connections to provide these vital services.
Any questions? You did say it was 54
It's $50,709
per year?
Per year.
Okay, so it'd be 200,000 roughly. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
YMCA.
Hello, my name is Mark Gilbertson. I'm the board chair of the YMCA of Natrona County. To my left is Peter Wold. He is the co-chair of our board of trustees, and to my right is Brent Kleingen, the director of the YMCA. First of all, we are very grateful for past 1-cent funds. We want to thank the city for the partnership that we've had. The most recent example has been our capital campaign to build the new facility. If you guys haven't been up there, we invite you to come and tour the facility. You know, I do feel it's a very good partnership between public and private sources. The YMCA sits on city-owned land, and we've had a lease agreement in place since the 1950s to construct, operate, and maintain buildings in a way to benefit the citizens of Casper and Natrona County. We're here today asking for $1.5 million of funding towards our now phase 2 of our capital campaign called Building Tomorrow Today, and this centers around an aquatic center. We have projected costs of this of $8.6 million, tons of detail, tons of schematics that we'd be happy to provide you guys, and I'll let both Peter and Brent provide a little more color to our organization.
Thanks, Mark, and thank you all for your time. We appreciate the efforts you go through as council and the time you put in. Just to give you some basic operating stuff, I know that's important. We have a very sustainable operation. Our funding is a mix of memberships, people paying to be members. We have program participants, and then we have private donations that come in, and that all comprises of our budget. With that being said, one unique thing YMCA does is we serve a lot of needy people. We don't turn anyone away based on their ability to pay. And just looking at what we've done so far this year, we're estimating that we'll give out over $400,000 in services. That's membership programs, childcare to needy families. There's an application process for them to fill that out. And then we give them what we call a scholarship. We usually like them to pay a little bit, and then we cover the rest for those in need. And that includes kids, families. We serve veterans. We have a lot of veterans that come into the Y through some great programming, and then seniors as well. So we really serve the whole gamut of the population. And one other thing to note, this is a fairly substantial project. There's an additional community benefit here. We're pumping most of the money for this project back into the economy through local contractors and things that benefit all of us. So just something to note there. We want to keep those jobs and dollars in our community, and a project of this magnitude can help our local economy in many ways. So I'll turn it over to Peter, our fearless volunteer.
Okay. Of the $1.5 million that we're looking for, we are suggesting that the city not match that money until we have raised 70% of the $8.6 million that this project is going to involve. So I think that motivates us, plus it gives you all an understanding of the fact that there is a lot of community support for this project. I think that that will give us the incentive to get out and raise the money. And I'm quite confident we're going to be able to do that. But it would mean a lot to us to have your support of the 1 cent. So you all have been generous with your time. We appreciate that. We would invite you, if you've not been to see the new Y, we would encourage you to come up and see it. And we've got a lot of blueprints, a lot of information that we can provide to you as far as this new project is concerned, and we hope that we'll be able to share that with you. So come as you can. We'll be in touch. Thanks.
Any questions? Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, so I'm looking at your numbers, and it looks like you guys generally raise through fees about 2/3 of your operating costs. Is that a ballpark number?
Yep, that's correct.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time. Meals on Wheels. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Judy Foote, and I'm representing Meals on Wheels. I'm the Finance and HR Manager.
I'm Jim Brown.
He's on the board. I have to have my readers, you get that age. Our mission for Meals on Wheels is to provide nutritional meals to senior citizens throughout the community. By serving those meals, they maintain their integrity and their independence, as well as their physical and mental activities. The longer seniors remain in their homes, their dignity is maintained, and this is economically beneficial to the community. It's far cheaper to have a senior in the home than in other accommodations such as nursing homes. Often clients are inclined to not eat. They don't want to fix anything just for themselves, and so they don't eat. And by what we serve them, they can eat very well, and a lot of times we serve them 2 meals because they aren't eating. The 1% of the number 15 grant will be used to purchase food for about 300 clients. Family members of our clients feel okay about their loved one because they know that one of our drivers is going to be in that home and checking on them Monday through Friday. And the volunteers are very caring. They care about their people. They come in and say, where's so-and-so? And we'll have to say, well, they're in the hospital or something. And, but they are checking on them. They're making sure they're okay. In fact, one of our drivers just this week found a lady that was in dire need, and she had to call 911 and get somebody there to help her. And the volunteers stay active, and that helps with their mental health and their physical health. The number of meals continues to grow. In fiscal year 17, we had 168,580 meals. And I estimated yesterday that fiscal year 18, we will have 180,000 meals. It's an increase of 12,000 or almost 1,000, a little over 1,000 meals a month. Our request is for $39,500 to purchase a cargo van. We go to the food bank and we can get some food, but it's in big pallets and it's hard to get it in our van. In fact, you can't get it in the van that we currently have. It's more a passenger van. So if we get a cargo van, we can get the pallets in, and that will help reduce the expense of our food. The food that we buy now, our food budget is about between $45,000 and $56,000 a month. And then we get those, go to the food bank, they have pallets, we can't get them in our van, and we don't have any other way to transport them, so that's why we're asking for $39,500 to get a cargo van, put the pallets in there, and then we can maybe cut some of that expense on our meals. And then also we do the BB&B, I'm sure everybody knows that, and we have Thankful Thursday and different fundraisers. So a cargo van would be very, very helpful for us to use on all those different fundraisers that we have. Is there any questions?
Councilman.
How many people do you serve?
We serve about
About 550 a month.
yeah, 550 a month, easily.
And are they mostly elderly people?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They have to be to meet the criteria.
They have to be over 60 to meet our criteria.
You're doing it.
Yeah.
We're also going to have to purchase ourselves a pallet jack because it's going to come with a tummy lift. When it comes off the van, we'll purchase a lift to get it in the building.
Yeah, Bob.
So you have a way to get it out of the van, or you have to?
Not yet.
Not yet. We're going to have it in.
We're going to buy a lift.
I see. So you still need to.
A pallet jack, I'm sorry. Sorry.
That's why he's here, because he knew what was going on.
So you've got a level way to get it rolled out of the van, or?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Mayor, in addition to serving older people, do you guys still offer the service, like if someone is convalescing from some kind of an injury or something, where they can
If they're
sign
over
up
60.
temporarily for you, or
They have to be over 60.
over 60 only? Okay, thank you.
For us to be funded by the state or the federal government.
Okay,
They can we can serve them meals, but they have to pay $5.25 a meal.
okay, thank you.
Which costs us about $10 a meal
Yeah.
to prepare.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Council, we're about 4 minutes behind. I don't know, we're up for another break at 6:30. I don't know how everybody's feeling. If they're hungry, I know we do have some food in the back. If we want to take a couple minutes, take a 5-minute. Yeah, so Lyric, we'll have you come up and then we'll take okay.
Hello, I'm Glenda Thomas, and I'm the Executive Director for the Lyric, and with me here tonight I have 2 board members, Lindsay Grant and Kate Cersey. We'd sincerely like to thank the council for being here tonight and for investing 1-cent monies in past projects like David Street Station, the YMCA, and Art 321. It was wonderful to see so many of you at the 5150 Festival this weekend at David Street Station as we celebrated our vibrant community. I think we can all agree that these projects have added so much to our city. The Lyric is a nonprofit organization in the process of planning, designing, constructing, and operating a state-of-the-art performing arts center in Casper. Since purchasing the Iris Movie Theater building, we have been operating the building as a rental venue. We've had multiple spaces like the lobby, theaters, and catering kitchen. We've hosted weddings, concerts, dinners, meetings, funerals, festivals, and parties. While this is our interim plan, our focus has been on building a performing arts center. Once completed, the Lyric will be an anchor point for downtown along David Street Station and the new state office building. The Lyric will serve Casper, the state, and the surrounding region with fantastic programming that will not only encourage overnight stays and provide community enrichment, but will contribute a substantial tax revenue back to the city. From our economic impact study, visitors from outside of Casper are estimated to spend an additional $39 above the price of every ticket. The out-of-town visitors and Casper community are estimated to spend an additional $1 million every year in Casper. The timeline for completing the project includes starting construction in 2020 and ready for performances by the end of 2021. We feel the time is now. During construction, the Lyric will create a large number of construction jobs, increase local wages, and have a significant economic impact on the city of Casper. The Lyric will continue to feed the 1-cent fund for generations, with people spending additional money on overnight stays, dinner, and drinks. We are requesting 1% funding to retire the mortgage on the building and to replace a small HVAC unit in the lobby. The Lyric has a contract for deed on the building, and we have made significant annual payments on the mortgage. The balance owed on the building is $700,000. Retiring this balance on the building allows us to focus on our capital campaign. The second part of the request is for $15,000 to replace the rooftop heating and cooling unit that controls the lobby, kitchen, and restrooms. It needs to be replaced as this is the Lyric's current main source of operating income. The Lyric has built partnerships with local arts nonprofits. Along with synergizing with the local groups, the Lyric plans to offer free and affordable access for our entire community. Some other programs may include free cultural seminars and teaching underprivileged children at summer theater camps. These are just a few of our ideas, and we are excited to begin to expand on them. We hope you also see the cultural, educational, and economic impact that the Lyric would bring to the future of Casper and Wyoming. Thank you.
Any questions? Great. Thank you, ladies. I think we'll take a short 5-minute recess, then we'll come back. So it'll be a strict 5 minutes. Me? The case. Right there. Yeah, I'll come do it. Yeah, no, just pickles.
It's all put together.
Oh, it is? All right, I'll pick it up. Just grab me whatever, just a couple.
Yeah.
Looks like it's gonna be a lot higher than 11.
Okay, we are down to 23 out of. Are we gonna hear the guys that are late? 3 of them turned them in late. I'm not sure where they're entitled to. Why have a deadline?
Yeah.
Are we gonna hear the three that were late?
The what?
The three that were late? I mean, why have a deadline?
That's up to us, I think.
Yeah.
No, I did hear the ARC was not late.
Oh,
But they did get it in on time.
okay.
So it's up to us if we want to hear the other ones, you guys. Because I did get, someone told me that to make sure the ARC was told that.
Can we get more coffee going?
I'll make some. That coffee.
I don't know. Think about having someone run me some coffee down.
We need a bigger pot.
Or a newer one.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Schmidt, and this is Janice Laird and Crystal Wallace, and we're here on behalf of Community Action Partnership. And Community Action Partnership is the organization which we represent, but we're actually here on behalf of the over 1,200 clients that we have seen since January who have walked through our doors and have needed the various services that Community Action Partnership has provided. Our services focus on individuals and families who are experiencing poverty and even homelessness. We provide service in 4 areas: housing, self-sufficiency, physical and mental health, and supporting other human service agencies in our community. This evening, our request is for $30,000 to help with rent and utilities for clients who have had adverse life experience and need help with remaining in their homes or being rehoused. As of late, we have received an extremely large number of utility bills that are over $400 overdue, or utilities that have been completely turned off. And in that time frame, we have heard from families who have had children, and they have expressed to us what they have to go through during times like that, especially in the winter months, and how they have to keep warm. And so it's a significant need in our community. There are two community partners that Community Action Partnership also collaborates with, and that is the Salvation Army as well as Interfaith. And there's not a lot of assistance for utilities, and so it's a significant need. Along with that, with utility assistance is also the need for rental assistance. Last year, Community Action Partnership experienced a 19% increase in the number of individuals and families whose rent needed some kind of help or basically paid for. And this significant increase is due in part to the loss of jobs due to the economic downturn. And what we've seen is that there are many individuals who have gone out and taken other positions, but at a greatly reduced rate. And so that leaves them vulnerable to adverse life circumstances like a large medical bill, even a large car expense, whether it's a repair, and they're trying to get that paid so that they can continue to go to work. Whatever those circumstances are, then they have difficulty in making their rent payment. And so that's where community action steps in. And community action looks at the family's income. They examine how they can assist them to move beyond their current state of need. Community action is a wraparound assistance. And some of the programs are Employment for Success program, the TANF program, intensive case management, health care and mental health needs at our health care for the homeless, and countless referrals to other organizations within our community. Our goal is to help people regain self-sufficiency and become viable, productive members of the community. One of our most recent clients, Crystal Wallace, is going to talk to you a little bit, because sometimes a story can communicate far more than just facts and figures. And so this is Crystal Wallace.
I want to make sure you know you have 1 minute left. Okay.
Many of our clients have had difficult things happen to them in their lives, and yet this story is not unlike others we hear routinely. I would like to share it with you. Community Action received a call from a social worker at the Children's Hospital in Denver about a week ago. She was requiring to find out how many services we could provide a family in Casper who had been at the hospital routinely with their daughter. The family came in the following week with their 9-year-old who was on oxygen and born without kidneys. The family was in desperate need of help to get their rent paid and utilities, as they spent so much money on travel and expenses, medical expenses. This family is just waiting and hoping to hear from a kidney transplant. Community Action will be able to help them with 90 days of rent and their utility bills. The couple's family has helped them so far, but not with rent and utilities. This is just one story we hear, and we hear many, and we are honored to assist people in need. Thank you.
So on behalf of Community Action Partnership, we just want to thank you for your time. And just in closing, we're looking for $30,000 to aid and assist the residents of Natrona County.
Great. Thank you, guys. Any questions for Cap?
$30,000 annually?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Is the Boys and Girls Club here? Actually, what time? I'm wondering if, I know you guys have somewhere to be for your dinner tonight, and I didn't know if anybody would be willing to let Boys and Girls Club go right now, and then we can move that. I don't know if that's something the council would be okay with. If not, you guys can just tell me to be quiet. And I know you guys have a big dinner coming up, right, tomorrow?
I'm good.
And so if you're okay with that, if that's okay with Seton House, okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilman. Industry trends indicate that by 2020, there will be 1.4 million computing jobs available. On the surface, this sounds great. According to code.org, colleges will only graduate 400,000 computer science students by 2020. Technology literacy is to this generation what reading literacy was to every previous generation. It is absolutely critical. One of our priority outcomes in the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Wyoming is academic success. We desire for youth to graduate with a plan in hand, whether that be college, military, or the workforce. All of those utilize 21st century skills like technology, literacy, in order to be successful. Funds from 1% number 16 will be used to relocate the club's existing technology center to the ground level of the Greater Casper branch, while providing space in the former location for essential services that are limited by the existing layout. Services such as counseling, we have a partnership with Central Wyoming Counseling Center. We have no space right now, or very little space for counseling to happen. Case management, group support, medical, dental services, these are things that are needed for the Boys and Girls Club. College courses, we currently have Casper College now facilitating classes in the Boys and Girls Club. And this would, and we're having challenges with that kind of space, so this will allow us to open that space. Staff training and more will be made possible through the additional classroom. These enhancements will provide privacy that does not currently exist in the lower level of open floor plan. And the new technology center will be relocated to a new 2,296 square foot addition on the west side of the Greater Casper branch in the current courtyard. In the new addition, there will be 90 computer stations, almost doubling current capacity. This space will help level the virtual playing field for club members by providing easy access during out-of-school hours. So our plan is to strengthen our partnerships through this very important tech relocation and programming. And with that, I'll open up for questions.
Anybody questions for Ashley? All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
We'll see everybody tomorrow.
We'll see you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ash. Seton House, thank you so much. They owe you one. Don't forget that, Seton House. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's about teamwork here, so we're all about that. My name's Deanna Fry. I'm representing Seton House tonight. I want to thank you for the previous support that you have given to Seton House. Without the city, without this community, the individuals in this community, we wouldn't be here. The mission at Seton House is to support single-parent families on their journey to independence. The people that come to us have all been experiencing homelessness. As a transitional housing program, we've grown from 3 apartments in 1989, serving just single moms and their children, to 30 apartments today, now serving single moms and single fathers. Last year, the last fiscal year, we served 57 parents and 99 children. These families came to us from situations that were traumatic misfortunes or missteps of the parents. The children, those 99 children, don't have any control over what's happened to their parents, the choices they've made. So the impact is not just for the parents to move them towards independence, but to have the impact on those children to give them a stable living situation for up to 2 years and provide them with the skills that hopefully will break the cycle of homelessness and poverty. Many of the folks that have been up here tonight have talked to you about they've lost funding and that they depend on community partnerships. So while I would love to say just fund us, I could never do that, because without each other and without the support and the people being able to perform the services that they do, including the cultural things and including the seniors, we don't survive as a community. And that's why this community works so well. The buildings on our campus, and let me say, scenic North Casper, because it is scenic North Casper. We have 13 different buildings. 7 of those buildings are aged from 90 to 98 years old. The other 6 buildings are 6 years or younger. So, as you might guess, we're in need of some repair and maintenance on those. What we're asking for in total is $156,500. Of that request, 3 are one-time funding requests. One is for $20,000 to do an architectural drawing that would replace 3 of the buildings, 3 of the oldest buildings. One that was the old beer and dance hall, and it, I'm sure, served a great life then and has served a great life for us for almost 30 years. But the necessity to maintain the 7 apartments there with the shape of the building is difficult. So we would like to have that drawing. That's a one-time. Another one-time is for $11,500 for roof repair and replacement, as well as tree removal and, roof repair and replacement, and removal and pruning of the trees that have been damaged in storms for a year, and they're starting to cause structural damage, so we need to get those done. And then one other one-time funding would be in the amount of $50,000 in the final year of this grant for demolition of the 3 buildings that we're looking at replacing. And that's a total of 8 apartments that we would be replacing. The remaining funds, totaling $75,000, will be used for annual maintenance at our facility, for fire alarm systems, backflow systems, security lighting, grounds maintenance, fence repair and replacement, and appliance replacement in our 30 apartments. Many of the ones in the oldest building that we're talking about taking down came with the buildings. Many of them have been donated, and those donations come from people that have used them well and love them well. And this last year, we've had to replace multiple.
30 seconds.
Oh, thank you. So, again, I'm glad I don't have your decision. We thank you for your support and ask for continued support for our project.
Thank you so much. Poverty resistance.
Good evening. Thank you for letting us make this presentation. I'm Mary Ann with Poverty Resistance. I started Poverty Resistance in 1987. Casper was barely crawling out of the bust, the real bust. Back then, some of you might remember. And Poverty Resistance has been in operation and at pretty much the same address for 31 years. Looking back on those years and looking at now, we still have about the same problems with hunger and poverty in Casper as we had in 1987. We still have about 11% of our population at or below the poverty level. The median per capita income in Casper right now is around $32,000 a year. It sounds like a lot until you start thinking that's $2,100 approximately take-home pay, and the median rent in Casper right now is $831 a month. Add utilities, car payments, and insurance, maybe a doctor, a dentist bill, and it's easy to see why a lot of families aren't making it. Poverty Resistance has served the people below poverty level and the so-called working poor since its inception. This month, August, we serve 2,147 households. That includes 1,842 children, 3,309 adults, which 659 have declared themselves to be senior citizens. We've also served cat food to 302 cats and dog food to 605 dogs. Some people feel that that's more important than the food that they get. The amount of food that we distributed just in this month was 41,229 pounds of food. That breaks down to 32,211 meals. The problem in our community is we have a large number of people that are working poor, that are below poverty level. It's been that way in Casper for a long time. I don't see anything in the economy that makes me think that is going to change. Now, the solution is that according to the United States Department of Agriculture, 40% of the food that's produced in this country is wasted. The Food Bank of the Rockies, the Feeding America system, Poverty Resistance, and the other food pantries that work with them rescue about 1/10 of that food that goes to waste. The amount of food that we could bring here to help low-income people is almost unlimited. The limiting factors to us is being able to get it from the Food Bank of the Rockies warehouse, which is way out by Coal Creek Road, into us. What we're asking for this go-round with the 1% 16 is $112,600. $25,000 of that to help us buy a refrigerator truck, $30,000 of that to help with the roof. The rest is kind of out amongst our general operating expenses. You've been looking at some numbers of how much it costs to run organizations. We run poverty resistance on around $32,000 a year. We have one paid person. He gets $200 a week to work 20 hours. He usually has his 20 hours in by about 10 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, but stays and works. We have no other paid people. We have only volunteers that help us. We're in a building that probably should be condemned, except we fix it up enough every year to stay ahead of that, that we only have to pay $50 a month in rent. Our other biggest expense is the $500 plus or minus electric bill we pay, and then utilities and upkeep. The way that we transport our food right now is we have a 1998 half-ton Ford pickup truck that the city deemed to be too old to try to sell at auction, so they gave it to us instead. We also have a 1993 box truck diesel that if I didn't have a son that was a mechanic, we wouldn't be able to get it to run 90% of the time, and we use that to pick up food and bring it to us. The food that is wasted in this country, and you can go online and Google that, but essentially we just brought you, do you mind passing that down a little bit? This is what we got today. And I think Food Bank of the Rockies is going to make a request to you as well, but this is what we got today. This is all free food. This is food that if it wasn't for the food banking network would end up in a bale fill. And as it is, food still in Wyoming ends up in the bale fill because we do not have the capacity to get that food to us and to give it away in a timely manner. As you can see, that pretty much all needs to be
30 seconds.
Okay, so anyway, that's our pitch. We want $112,600, buy a truck, do some other things for us. Any questions?
I don't think so. Thanks, Marianne. A Wyoming food for thought.
All right, hello. Thank you so much for asking me to present to you, Council. I really appreciate it. My name is Jamie Purcell. I'm the Executive Director of Wyoming Food for Thought Project. Cassandra Baker, the only other full-time employee, is running the farmers market just up the street right now, so she cannot be with us. But I think that we can speak synonymously usually. So thank you so much for your prior funding that you gave us over the last few years. We've really tried to stretch those dollars, as you hopefully have seen with our reports that we've submitted to council. We started as a local solution to hunger. We are not a food bank. We are not a food pantry. And so what the heck are we, right? That's what you're familiar with. We are a food sovereignty organization, and so what we try and do is provide, empower, and educate our community in how they can have control over their food access. So we have our weekend food bag program that we do for kids, which is considered a hunger relief program, and really what we do is empower kids in our community who have no other access to food. Maybe their parents can't get on food stamps, or their parents can't make it to one of the wonderful food pantries in town, and so we provide food bags directly to them. We want those food bags to be locally sourced and locally funded, and we want the food that we put in those food bags to be the best and healthiest possible. So because of that, we took over running the downtown Casper Community Farmers Market 6 years ago. We have grown it exponentially. We now accept food stamps. We also do a double up food program and a power of produce food program where kids can come and they get $2 to spend at the market. They get to basically shake the hand of the farmer that feeds them, and that's a really important component. Marianne just spoke about the food that you can bring into the community, which is awesome. I just literally rolled into town from a vacation where I went up the coast of California, and I was kind of geeking out about all of the amazing food that's grown there. I mean, it's our breadbasket of America, but the thing is, if there's a winter storm in Casper or trucks don't run, we're kind of out of luck for a few days. Dan Hiddle Albertson says that they have to have trucks that come in every 2 days to get food. And so what we are really seeking to do in our community is empower our community to have more control over the food that they access. If you're growing your own food, you know what's going into it. If you're growing your own food or you're part of that food process, even if you're just buying it from the farmer's market, then you have an opportunity to have more control over the food that you're putting in your body, which is really a basic human right. So our request
request this time is to help us upgrade the kitchen at our facility in North Casper. It's the old Winter Memorial Church, and the kitchen has a lot of history. The story goes that Meals on Wheels was started there. I don't have any historical data to back that up, but the truth is that kitchen has fed hundreds of thousands of people in our community. It's currently not up to code, and what we're working to do is create a commercial kitchen that can be utilized not just by Food for Thought for processing food from the gardens that we have, which, by the way, we have over 200 community gardens, and we're about to build our 5th greenhouse in the community. 4 of those will be in actually all 5 will be in North Casper. So 2 high tunnels are at the old Roosevelt School. We're about to build a 3rd greenhouse there, which will be a geodesic dome. And then we have a high tunnel greenhouse at our program center, which is the Winter Memorial Church. And then we just moved the Mills greenhouse, the first Mills elementary greenhouse over there, and it will be put up hopefully by the end of next week. So what that means for us is that we can have people in our community, kids, interns, anyone can get their hands dirty. They can have power in the process of growing their own food. And then, beyond that, it's about economic development. And so for us, the farmers market is a seed to jar concept where we're conceptualizing, giving kids and adults, everyone in our community, the opportunity to literally pull themselves up by the bootstraps, or giving bootstraps so that they can pull themselves up. So instead of just giving people in our community fish, we're really working with our programs to try and teach people to fish. So that, in a nutshell, is what we're requesting. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions?
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Oh, I think so. Hold on, the Vice Mayor might.
Just want to make sure, Jamie, the 112,000 is for the entire cycle?
Yes, it is. If you want to give it to me every year, I'm not going to argue, but it is for the entire cycle.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
Food Bank of the Rockies.
Good evening. My name is Victoria Zeiton, and I'm with the Wyoming Food Bank of the Rockies. I handle the communications and the development for the only food bank here in Wyoming. We serve the entire state, but what I want to talk to you about today is what we do here in Casper. Our mission is to help families thrive by efficiently procuring and distributing food and essentials to the hungry through our programs and through our partner agencies. We know that nutritious meals help kids learn. It reduces family stressors, and it assists prescribed medications to work correctly. The Wyoming Food Bank of the Rockies is asking for $20,000 to help offset the expected freight costs of both the delivery of foods to the Casper pantries, as well as to cover the cost of going to Cheyenne to procure the donated foods that come from the Walmart Distribution Center. Before I talk about how we're going to use those funds and how it affects Casper, I'd like you to consider the fact that a dedicated staff of 13 people distributed 10.5 million pounds of food in just 1 year. That's 8.4 million meals across the entire state of Wyoming, or more simply, 23,000 meals a day for the entire year. And we did this while holding our administrative costs to just 4 cents on every donated dollar. What could you do in your business if you only needed 4% of your sales to run it? What we do with the other 96 cents on a dollar is put it directly into food and feeding programs. Wyoming Food Bank of the Rockies provides our 41 Casper partner agencies with purchase food options, grocery rescue, free products, free food, and especially important, free produce. Our discounted and free sources are crucial since 20 of these agencies provide walk-in services to Casper residents. In a state where 1 in 8 people are hungry, 11,000 Natrona County residents are food insecure, and over 3,600 of those are children. Wyoming Food Bank of the Rockies is dedicated to fighting hunger and feeding hope right here in Casper. In one day alone, in just 5 hours, with the help of our partners, Wyoming Food Bank of the Rockies provided 910 households with 52,000 meals of their choice. Now, while we all understand that Wyoming's economy is getting better, it's going to be a slow kind of growth. And that's the kind of growth which often skips over the working poor and/or individuals on fixed income. Those are our seniors, our veterans, and our struggling families with children. When Wyoming's prosperity grows, these groups cannot afford the increased prices that come along with a Wyoming boom. Wyoming Food Bank of the Rockies does not want to pass along the increased costs of transportation to our partners. This 1-cent grant would ensure that our 41 partners here in Casper can continue to purchase food at 19 cents a pound, whether they're ordering meat or marshmallows. It's their choice. And it would also help us continue to bring food from Walmart's distribution center in Cheyenne all the way to Casper, no matter what the weather, all year long, and to do so at no charge. Casper's hungry. Count on our 41 partner agencies.
30
Count on
seconds.
them for fresh, nutritious, and sustainable food. Our partner agencies count on Wyoming Food Bank of the Rockies, and we're counting on you to help us keep our costs down and keep Casper fed. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you so much. United Way. Good evening.
Good evening to you, and thank you for having us tonight and giving us this opportunity. I'm Anna Wilcox, Executive Director of the United Way, and tonight I have with me Mandy Anderson, our Community Programs Coordinator, also the coordinator of the specific program VITA, which we're going to be making a request for tonight. The VITA program is a volunteer income tax program. In 2017-2018 tax season, over 3,300 individual tax returns were completed by the 23 volunteers who are donating $60,000 worth of in-kind volunteer time, all of which are certified tax preparers. Of the recipients of this free service, 50% of them are seniors. Approximately $577,000 in tax prep fees are being saved by the service, which in turn puts $3.8 million back into the community in those refunds, as well as almost $200,000 in potential sales tax for Natrona County. We are asking for $9,670 for each of the 4 years to continue to support and maintain this program. In that cost, it's inclusive of supplies that are required, as well as the time for our programming staff at the United Way offices.
Any questions for Anna? Oh, yeah, Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. Anna, really quick, is this just a one-time, or is this for once every 4 years, the 9,600?
Once every 4 years for a total of $38,680.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time, guys.
Thanks, Anna. Appreciate it.
Mayor, was the last one? I didn't get the last one.
That one.
One time?
No, it's 4 times.
4. Yep. Casper Housing Authority. Hi, Kim.
Hello, good afternoon. It's nice to see you all, and thank you so much for having us. We've been talking with the Natrona County School District on a project we've been concerned about for the last 4 years. And that is the transitional housing program that was shut down several years ago. Casper Housing Authority has spent a lot of time filling the gaps and double checking and making sure that we're not doing something that's already being done. The transitional housing, while you've heard from so many wonderful agencies, and it's such a joy to sit here and listen to the great work that's happening, we are seeing programs that are serving single-parent families, individuals, veterans, all these different people, but there is not a program in this city that serves an intact family. And so what's happening is that those families are in quite the predicament. They have to hide. They can't tell us because their children will be taken away. They can't come forward and ask for help. They have to be very discreet. When I talked to Greta Hinderleiter at the school district, she told me that at the end of this last school year, there were 300 identified homeless children in our school district. 182 of those children were in elementary school. That is not the homeless teens you're thinking about. Those are little children, and it does not include the children that are between 0 and 5 years old. In our office, we have 211 mailboxes for the homeless or those who are displaced and have no place to call home. 10% of those are held by families with children. Those children right now are living in cars. They're living in tent cities. They have absolutely nowhere to go. And when they do come forward, they are either split up, the family cannot remain intact, or one person in the family has to leave. Historically, the city of Casper funded the transitional housing program on the Life Steps campus. When it was shut down 4 years ago, this problem became an enormous barrier for our community. It became extremely difficult for us to house families who may have only been homeless for a few months who are now chronically homeless. We are having a very difficult time getting them off the streets. What we're asking for is seed money to put this program back. You already know that when you invest in the Casper Housing Authority, we take that money and we can leverage it. You gave us $480,000 for our Centerpoint project. We brought you back a $9 million project. We have an $18 million construction project going on right now that is low income and workforce housing that we have brought to this community. None of that money came from inside this community. What we've done on the Life Steps campus is we have brought it back to life. This program originated there, it belongs there, and it's almost ready to go back there. You can't expect these children to do their homework when they don't have a home. You know we can deliver, and we are asking very graciously and very hopefully that you will consider giving us the seed money to put this very important program back. Our partners from Seton House, they handle the exact same program for single-parent homes. They're willing to work with us and contract with us to expand their program into the campus and make sure that we are addressing whole families. Interfaith already vets people who are in need of housing assistance. They are going to contract with us to use their program. We have no intention of duplicating anything that already exists, but it is critical and it is important that our children are not trying to attend school out of a car. One last thing, on our budget, you will see that we have only included the funding for this particular program. All the money that we receive comes directly from HUD. We are not allowed to cross programs on anything we have. I can't take funding from public housing and use it for transitional housing or any other program. That's why the budget only includes this program. You are all welcome to come and see me at any time. I'm happy to share all of that information with you.
Any questions for Kim?
Yeah, good luck with that. I've had 19.
Just quickly, Kim, what is the status of Building E right now? Is it not habitable?
It is almost finished. The construction is almost done. It will be ready within the next 60 days.
And so the money you're asking for will be used not for the construction then?
No, it is not for the construction. We are going to complete the construction based on last time, and we actually were able to leverage that money to 2.5 times what we received, and that's why the campus looks the way it looks. We have added additional bathrooms. For every 2 units in that building, there is 1 bathroom. Before, it was 6 families per bathroom. So it is quite a different. It has been upgraded, and it's a place of hope now. It's not a place of despair. And so it's almost ready, and we're ready to put these folks back in there. And frankly, they're beating my door down, so. Anything else?
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
DDA.
Kevin Hawley, Executive Director, Downtown Development Authority. Thank you, members of council, Mr. Mayor. Feeling a little dirty up here after everybody's up here fighting for kids and shelter and safety and food, and I'm coming to talk about a giant snow blower. But, you know, people got to walk safely downtown too. I'd hate for Mr. Laird to take the pup and have to cross one of the 3 or 4 foot windrows in the middle of Center Street. This issue probably has always been downtown. I think it came to light last year when we had an older lady slip in one of the ADA crosswalks and whack her head pretty hard, and the merchants came out and made quite a spectacle of it. And guess who got the phone call? It was the DDA guy. Apparently I'm in charge of snow removal now too. I don't see this as something that I envisioned myself wanting to do. I do understand, and we've got great partnerships with both Streets and Parks Department of the city, but I know they're short-staffed and they can't get to everything. They do a great job downtown, but it's not addressed when you try to create, and I think we have done a good job, a very friendly, inviting, walkable, connected downtown. There's a lot of energy and excitement, and winter comes, and it's not very walkable. My request to council today, from behalf of downtown, the board of directors, and my staff, is that the city invests in a one-time capital purchase of a John Deere tractor with a broom and snow thrower auger on it in the amount not to exceed $23,850. Much like we have at the parking garage with the city-owned four-wheeler, as well as the city-owned street sweeper that we use to maintain downtown. I also ask that the city fleet department maintain it. To show commitment and skin in the game, I would offer up not only myself but my staff to do this. I do not want to become a free downtown snowplow service. The private sector already handles that. However, no one does address those crosswalks. The ADA crosswalks, they fill with snow, sludge, sleet. It puddles there and becomes ice. It is problematic, as well as the windrows. I try to run them over in my truck just to make them a little passable. So again, if it comes down, I know budgets are tight. There's a lot of people asking. If it comes down to feeding the needy, sheltering the youth, I will tell you we will sleep well at night knowing that we would forgive $24,000 for a snow thrower to make sure those kids are taken care of. If there is an opportunity, we'd be glad for the partnership and to only benefit the community. I would also add that the equipment we're using at the parking garage that the city does own now, the four-wheeler was purchased in 2002 and is still running like the day you probably got it. We change the oil once a year, so this is a pretty stout purchase if the Hawley family was doing it, but it's something that can benefit the city, the downtown, and everyone that visits and enjoys the downtown for, 16 plus years if you use the four-wheeler as an example. So thank you for your time, attention, and I'd be happy to get you guys some coffee if you're going to be here for a while. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Central Wyoming Hospice. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for allowing me to come to speak to you today. I really appreciate this opportunity. So I think most of you know Central Wyoming Hospice is the only nonprofit hospice offering end-of-life care in Natrona County. Last year we served 418 patients. That's 418 of your neighbors and your constituents during their last days. I'm here to ask for $30,000 per year for overhead for our hospice home and $60,000 towards a new HVAC chiller unit. When we first started in 1981, hospice was a purely volunteer, community-driven organization. In 1996, we built our first hospice home. In 2006, we built our second one. During that time, these were viable economical models. Since then, times have changed. The government does not want to pay for hospice homes. They want to have patients in their own homes. And I don't know if you guys have ever cared for somebody who's dying or had a family member, but it's overwhelming. Primarily what we use our hospice home for is patients who have just a couple days left to live, have intense symptom management needs, but we also have patients who are homeless. We have patients who don't have any families available, who have major safety concerns. We were called out just this past year to a doctor's office, and we get there, and there is a lady who lives there alone, and she was covered in her own filth. She told us she was starving. She hadn't been able to feed herself for a week, and we brought her into the home, and there wouldn't have been another place for her to go. Last year, we had $70,000 of uncompensated care. The cost of running a hospice home is over $1 million. So what I'm asking for is a very small portion. We understand that we need to do better. We need to be able to run it. But the fact is, these days, the government does not provide the funding for it. They pay us maybe $150 when the cost of care is $900. And the thing is, there is set overhead costs. If you look in other communities, they are closing down these hospice homes. I talked to an executive director in Florida this spring, and they come from a large community, where they have 400 patients, and they closed 2 of their homes. But I don't think that's an option here for Wyoming. We need it for, our residents in Midwest. We need it for our residents in Edgerton who can't get here. We need it for our patients who don't have any families available. And again, the other part, that HVAC unit, we, again, are not asking for all of it. We plan on putting money aside to help pay for this. But the fact is, without having a little help, we're going to have to raise the fees for our room and board. And I think that what that would be, it'd be an unfair barrier to the residents in this community getting the care that they deserve and having the dignity at end of life. So I appreciate you all considering this. Do you have any questions for me at this time?
Anybody have any questions?
Okay.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Go ahead, Dallas.
Not so much of a question. I had a good friend that was in there earlier in the year.
It's hard.
Had a good friend who was there earlier in the year, and it's really a good organization. I hope that you stay in business.
And I want to say, Mr. Laird, we are committed to being here and offering the best care for every single resident in this community. So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Casper Mountain Biathlon.
Good evening. I'm Rob Rosser, President and Head Coach of Casper Mountain Biathlon Club. Thank you all for listening to our proposal and giving us the opportunity to talk to you tonight. We broke ground in September of 2015 with a world-class biathlon venue, multi-sport complex on McMurray Sport Park up on Casper Mountain. And in short, we've accomplished through the funds from the city, county, and state, private donors and whatnot, more in that period of time than expected, under budget and ahead of schedule. And just wanted to thank the city of Casper for being a major contributor to that progress. What we're looking for with the next 4 years, 1 cent funds that we're asking for is facility improvements. And the 3 major projects within that, what we're calling phase 2, are paving paths up on the current ski trails that you've already funded, strength facility, which is going to double as a playground, agility outdoor strength facility, and agility park, and also a lodge, which currently we only have a 40-foot metal building up on the mountain. It's our one of 2 heated buildings that we have now. We have nothing for the public really to go into and utilize to get out of the elements. And part of what we're asking for is funding that will allow us to locate water, which is something that's very difficult to do on that side of the mountain. Typically, it's about 600 feet deep, and McMurray attempted twice to locate water and was unsuccessful twice. So in order to have a lodge, we need to have that water. So And again, that water has more benefit than just the venue itself, but fire mitigation as well in the future. Let me just read some narrative on focusing on the major projects. Again, Casper Mountain Biathlon Club is home to a multi-sport training facility and training center on 240-acre public park, 40 of which is county-owned, 200 of which is city-owned, basically the trails that we have up there. Our vision is to provide a gateway of opportunity to those of all abilities to grow, develop, excel through the sport of biathlon. This playground fitness project will provide entertaining environment and facilities, an inclusive, nourishing challenge for all ages and abilities. The site is a Paralympic sport club. We have 2 Paralympians that have moved to town simply because of the facility that we offer here. It's also housed injured veterans, adaptive athletes year-round. The playground will range from simple ability levels to advanced strength and agility equipment. So Casper citizens love going up to the mountain. It's 6 miles from the center. The mountain offers 5 campgrounds, 4 summer camps, 6 outdoor sport clubs serving thousands of people in the area. But we only have 2 public swing sets up there. Ironically, not much of a playground, and this project would fill that void. In addition, 5 kilometers of trail to supplement the biathlon venue, but it would also provide other users such as wheelchair users, baby strollers, trike users, in an environment that's not as exposed as the trails such as down at Three Crowns. It'll be very similar to the trails that are at Three Crowns, but it'll be up on a mountain and provide roller skiing capabilities, which is going to bring more people to town for our biathlon camps. We've already had international competitions, international camps and whatnot, and this is going to make us one of 3 facilities that offers roller skiing capabilities with a 30-point biathlon range. So basically, the other aspect that I wanted to hit was the safety aspect about getting the local Nordic skiers off the roads so that they don't have to share the roads with vehicles. So that would be a huge improvement and offer more recreational opportunities without vehicular traffic up on the mountain where it's typically 15 degrees cooler than down in town. So definitely recreational benefits to our community as well as
30 seconds.
As well as our other sports that we're supporting and hosting there. Awesome. Thank you.
Any questions? Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Science Zone.
Good evening, City Council, City Manager, Mr. Mayor. My name is Stephen Schnell, and I'm the Executive Director of the Science Zone here in downtown Casper. We are a growing organization ready to expand into a new facility and would love your support as we take this next step. Over the next few minutes, I'd like to showcase how our project will beautify downtown Casper, create a draw for tourism to Casper, spur economic development for our community, provide hands-on education and enrichment opportunities for children and families. For 2 decades, the Science Zone has been providing exciting opportunities for our visitors through hands-on exhibits and programs. At our current location off of Midwest Avenue, we've been able to see an average of 30,000 annual visits to our site. Over the past few years, we've grown our outreach program to serve nearly 10,000 people outside of our museum. We provide summer camps, after-school classes, school district field trips, and partner with many other museums and nonprofits through various programs. We've been able to accomplish all of this while operating out of the basement of a furniture store, a space that is less than ideal for the type of work we do. So our organization has purchased a large building off of Collins, and we are excited to turn this 20,000 square foot building into our new home. We are renovating half a city block and plan to alter the facade of this building, making it more appealing and certainly more exciting than the way it currently sits, thus beautifying downtown Casper. At our current facility, we face a myriad of challenges, one of which being stairs. Those with physical disabilities are required to call one of our staff members who meets them upstairs to then escort them over to a freight elevator that almost always works. Our new facility is a single level with no basement. In our current space, the journey from the loading dock down to the exhibit floor is filled with a variety of space constraints. This, coupled with our less than ideal ceiling height, means that even though there are this many exhibits out there for us to try to rent and bring to Casper, our space constraints limit that down to about this many. By moving into a larger space with proper ceiling height, with purposeful and intentional design, our potential exhibit pool increases, and we'll have the opportunity to bring in blockbuster-style exhibits that will create an additional draw for tourism to Casper. As you know, Casper is a regional hub for both shopping and dining, and our new Science Center, with its 10,000 square feet of interactive space, provides just one more great reason for people to visit our wonderful city. Now, speaking of intentional and purposeful design, we will be using a local contractor to help renovate the space. This will certainly provide work for many people during the construction phase of our project. Furthermore, when our project is up and running, the increased traffic at our Science Center will have a positive impact on the surrounding businesses, especially restaurants. Again, helping to spur that economic development for years to come. While each of these benefits is exciting, our project has a far more specific goal, and that is to provide exciting hands-on exhibits and educational opportunities for everyone. Now, I say everyone because although our primary audience is children, we have a vision for parents and their kids and grandkids to all interact together as they build things, problem solve, and learn. And we envision school groups by the busload learning throughout the museum and our many exhibits. Now, as many of you have seen from the exhibit renderings being passed around, we have a very exciting future ahead of us, and we would love for you to be a part of it. Although our total project budget is still being refined with the guidance of a campaign consultant, it will likely be around $10 million. One of our first steps is remodeling the interior space, a project that will roughly cost $2 million. We are requesting a 50% match of the $2 million needed for the remodeling. The $1 million requested will only be utilized if we are able to procure the matching funds. I invite each of you to tour our Science Center and to learn more about all we offer our community, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have on our project. And thank you, and I sincerely appreciate all of you taking the massive amount of time to hear all of our requests and go through this very important process. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Thank you guys all for coming in. We appreciate it.
Got to make a comment. I'm glad all you kids are down here. This is the city council. One of these days, some of you are going to be on the city council. And I hope I live to see it. I'll have to take my longevity pills. Nice tie, Jason.
We're here every Tuesday if you want to come see us. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
But I can show pictures.
Try that, Leanne.
Science Zone, it's a great project. Oh my gosh. So I am Leanne with the Casper Community Greenhouse Project, and I want to thank all of you this evening for taking all of this time to allow me and all these guys to apply for the 16th cycle of 1 cent funds. All of them are worthwhile projects, and your job is not going to be easy trying to decide how you allocate this money. So I appreciate all the work that you're doing. The Casper Community Greenhouse Project has a mission to provide fresh and local food in a way that educates and fosters community involvement by connecting children with healthy food, nutrition, and agriculture. With that being said, it's our aim to build, develop, and operate local greenhouses designed to promote urban and rural agriculture and the health and well-being of our community, with the emphasis on elementary schools. It's always been our strategy that the elementary school level is where we can affect the most change and make the biggest impact. Children in that age group are eager to learn where their food comes from and to participate in the growing of it. It allows us to work in partnership with the school district and incorporate not only agricultural practices and nutrition, but financial literacy, science, math, and writing. We have developed a 20-week curriculum that we use to help create garden and cooking clubs as extracurricular activities in the greenhouse as well. In essence, if we teach the children how to grow healthy food, they will in turn teach their parents and families how to eat healthy. And by targeting this, while our aim is to target the Casper community that and elementary schools that has the highest food insecurity, we hope that we will educate the entire community on growing and ultimately create a healthier community. Previous funding helped the community greenhouse project with the construction of 3 greenhouses, 2 that are complete and 1 in progress, as well as funding for an executive director and greenhouse managers. Each of these greenhouses are teaching greenhouses. That means they're 24 by 48 and have ample space for growing and teaching. Journey's new greenhouse was completed this summer, was supposed to get completed last summer, but we had a few land, soil, concrete issues. But it is up and ready and will be ready for the kids when they get into school this fall. Evansville Elementary School is vibrantly growing vegetables as well as flowers in both dirt and aquaponically. The Pineview location has been set. The immediate plans are in the works. We're working on site plans with to deliver to the city as we speak. The greenhouse has actually been ordered and we're hoping to build before the snow flies. The addition of greenhouse managers through our collaboration with Natrona School District has proven to be a successful addition. Our managers interact with the teachers, children, and ensure that the greenhouse is maintained and in proper working order. There will be no greenhouse storage areas for us. We encourage and expect our managers to continue their training in all aspects of greenhouse management, growing methods, and experimentation. With the hiring of the executive director, September brings the Casper Community Project's first annual fundraiser as we host Food Network celebrity chef Nancy Fuller from Farmhouse Rules. And we kind of went out on a limb and said we're going to do a 2-day event in and around the David Street Station to continue our fall festival as we have in the last few years. And we'll have a fundraising dinner on Friday night and a free public interactive event on Saturday. That's at the end of September 28th and 29th. And there'll be lots of things. We're going to have a cooking competition. There'll be horse rides. There'll be kids' activities. There'll be building scarecrows. There'll be in all sorts of educational interactive events to participate in. And by doing this, we are confident that to engage and delight the Casper community, as Nancy Fuller actually embodies the philosophy that the Greenhouse Project holds. We have seen great interest and even behavioral changes in the students who are exposed to these greenhouses and growing, as was demonstrated when we dedicated the tree planting at Evansville and the final plant set at Mills Elementary before they moved to Journey. The children were able to answer all the questions the media put to them, that is, asking for healthy snacks from the school district rather than sugared snacks, and knowing the entire life cycle of an aquaponics system, which kind of threw them all for a loop when a 3rd grader could tell them all of those great details about aquaponics. The Casper Community Greenhouse Project is grateful for the 1 cent 15 cycle. Understanding that the amount we requested at that time was unable to be met, we are hopeful to receive the underfunded amount this cycle. This will allow our project to continue the originally projected goals of sustainability and projected greenhouses for the Casper community. Funding will be applied in the same way it has in previous funding. It is our hope to build 2 more greenhouses for a total of 5 by 2019. The funding would allow us to build at a
30 seconds.
So, with that being said, we want you all, I was almost done anyway. So I just want to appreciate your consideration and hope that our quiet organization will have a loud impact.
Anything for Leanne? Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you.
Nicolason. Good evening.
For those of you who I haven't met, I'm Ann Rubel. I'm the executive director of the Nicolason Art Museum. I've been there since December of 16. I am a resident of Casper. I am before you both to say thank you for number 15. We are almost complete with the projects that we promised to do during that process. So replace the computers, replace the phone systems. We replaced all of the windows in our main atrium, which we call Bryce Hall, with UV protected windows. So now that can actually be used as a gallery space. All of those windows had broken seals as well. So now they're actually safe and sound windows. We also replaced all the windows in the Discovery Center, which is our education center. Those also all had broken seals. They were original to the building from 30 years ago. And right now, in the middle of September, we'll undertake renovation of all the bathrooms. So that was 1 cent 15. So the proposal before you for 1 cent 16 is for the final replacement of the windows in the building. Next year will mark 30 years since the city of Casper invested in that building. It was built in 1989. So taking the old Casper lumber or Natrona Power, whatever you want to call it, and adding on the wings that are the gallery, our vault space, as well as the renovation of the Discovery Center. Next year will be 30 years. The window systems that were put in at the time are radius systems. So anybody who's driven by knows that we have those arced windows. Those panes are actually not available anymore because they're curved panes. So what we need to do, what the architects and the engineers have told me, is to actually blow out those windows, do a shed roof off of our roof, and then put straight windows back up that match the rest of the building. Those will be both environmentally safe, they'll be easier to repair. All of the seals, again, are broken on those, but the estimate from 2 different window companies was just to replace one pane is $1,000. And it's really not worth it anymore. What we really need are shed roofs that will give better drainage off the roof, and then a better window system. So a bulk of what you have before you is that. Also, the Discovery Center, which is our center for both art education and therapeutic art programs, we have a first floor, which is almost 6,000 square feet, and a second floor, which is 3,000 square feet. But the railing system between those 2 floors actually doesn't meet code. And right now, a child could easily slip through the bottom of that rail system. So part of what is in your proposal as well is to improve the flooring in the Discovery Center so that it's no longer as slick as it is, because it's not safe for not only our smallest, which are 18-month-olds, but also we have seniors that come in through the dementia program and through our veterans program for therapeutic art, and the flooring's not safe for them either. So with the funding, we would be able to replace the flooring on both floors, as well as put a pony wall in where the old railing system is. They'll both make it more secure and safe, but also it would cut down the noise between the 2 floors, because many times we have classes going simultaneously on the first and second floor. And the other large part of your proposal is for us to take out the kitchenette, which was put in the building in '89. It's tiny. You can only get maybe 2 people in it. And in the last year and a half, we've really started under myself and the existing staff using the NIC for more events, more rental. It's both earned income opportunity for us, but it also exposes more people to what we have to offer at the NIC. The kitchenette is no longer functional. The sinks don't function, nor does cabinetry. So we have a proposal to actually create a new prep kitchen area. We're not going to cater, but for the caterers who want to come on site and the people who want to rent, it would be much more attractive. And we could finally have an ADA accessible kitchenette that people could come in and use whenever they're doing events at the NIC. So that's the bulk of the proposal.
Any questions? Think we're good?
Okay. Well, as my landlords, I hope you'll consider investing in the building. Like I said, it's 30 years old. We do all the preventive maintenance on the building, but we do work with the city to do any major repairs. And right now we're at the point where if we don't do the repairs that are in this proposal, we may have a lot bigger costs on the back end to try to fix things, especially if the windows do fail, which right now they're very close to doing. So I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Restorative justice. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. I'm not sure what time it is. I think it's a little after 8. But I just saw most of you 2 weeks ago, so I did a program update, so I'm not going to, re-provide all of that information. But I felt like that evening, what I didn't cover as much as maybe I should have was how community is involved in restorative justice. So that's more what I'm just going to focus on for the next few minutes. So how does a restorative justice program benefit a community? Well, one of the 3 primary pillars of restorative justice is community. That's just a very part of the definition. Restorative practices are, they're an inclusive process, so obviously our victims, our offenders, and community. RJ also can include secondary victims, such as a victim's parents, maybe or definitely the offender's parents, maybe a witness, and then other affected persons. This program benefits the community because it creates an opportunity for citizens, and it invites them to have a voice in response to crime. Community plays an active role in the process by identifying the impacts upon a community. And then the community members, they assist in guiding that RJ contract for reparation. They literally become a part of the solution. Volunteers with the program can serve in 2 capacities. The first is that of a facilitator. So with the restorative process, we're using the conferencing model. There's the pre-conference meetings with our victims, pre-conference with the offenders, and then you get together for the final conference. There are always 2 facilitators in that process, myself being one of those, and then the other facilitator is one of our volunteers. The second way they can be involved is to be a volunteer community member. So at that final circle process, community volunteers come in, and again, they represent those impacts to our community. And then there's actually a third way that community becomes involved. And that is the way that restorative justice, thinks outside the box. Because restorative justice views crime through a slightly different lens, we include these secondary victims. So again, as examples, this might be the person who witnessed the crime. It might be the principal of the high school, maybe where the offense took place. They become a part of that process. It might be the realtor who had to handle the property damage situation because the property owner lives out of state. A little bit of data, and not to repeat anything that I've already covered a couple weeks ago. To date, we've had 34 cases referred, 26 that were accepted, or 26 deemed appropriate. We've held a total of 19 final conferences that led to an RJ contract for reparation. The difference in those numbers is some final conferences may have 2 or 3 defendants participate because it was the same offense. We've had 19 volunteers serve as a facilitator. An average case between the pre-conference meetings to the final conference can take anywhere from 6 to 10 hours. We've had a total of 13 volunteers who have served as community members. We have had 10 direct victims who have participated in a process. We have had 9 school district personnel participate, 10 police officers, 1 chief from the fire department, 1 rec center employee, a realtor, a counselor, a witness, and numerous parents of both defendants and victims. An RJ program of this nature encompasses many partnerships. So many of the agencies that have been here tonight have crossed the paths with the restorative justice program. Again, it all comes back to relationships in the community. And actually, in order for an RJ program to exist, it must partner with other entities in a community. A program would not survive if it tried to operate in isolation. Its effectiveness and purpose is only true to the spirit of restorative justice if these community relationships exist. So to that end, NCRJ is requesting funding to support the Casper Police Department in developing its RJ program. The funding will provide 2 full-time staff dedicated solely to the development of restorative practices for a period of 4 years.
30 seconds.
On a side note, 2 weeks ago when I was at council, information regarding restorative justice and recidivism was brought up. I have managed to piece together some information for you all, and I will have that submitted by the end of the week for your review.
Any questions for Jen? Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Jen, just trying to understand now, the program specialist would be you, right?
Correct.
So, but you're currently, what is your current position and how is that being funded? Is there some offset here that?
My current title, I am the Community Service Coordinator at the Police Department, and I've been in that position for 9 years.
So would that position need to be replaced then?
It would be filled, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Morgan.
Thank you, Mayor. Just really quick, just so I understand what the money is going towards or how it's being facilitated. So it would be for employees of our police department. Would they be eligible for benefits? Is that correct?
Correct. That price is salary plus benefits.
Okay, and then this would support operational funding within our police department?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you very much.
Central Wyoming Senior Services. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Rita Wagner. I'm the new executive director for the Central Wyoming Senior Services. Had to double check there because I almost referred to Minaloosahan. I just moved here about just a little over 2 months ago from Rapid City, and I wanted to let you know that this has been a tremendous learning experience for me, being here and seeing all of the wonderful programs that you are a part of, and it rivals anything that they have in Rapid City. I'm proud and honored to be a member of this community. I want to thank you too for the number 15 funding that was given to the agency. It allowed us to purchase commercial ovens, do an electronic upgrade to the HVAC system, purchase a computer server and a surveillance system, all of which are working well. We are also in the process of doing a minor renovation to our front lobby. That'll be coming up soon, and then the serving area in our dining room in order to make it a little more user-friendly. At this time, we're requesting the same amount that the city has historically given in support. It's $55,000 per year. This money is used to offset food costs. We provide about 30,000 meals a year. They're paid for by federal, state, voluntary contributions. We can't charge. It's a voluntary contribution. So if they elect to give us $5, fine. If they walk by, they're still served. Our food costs last year were $198,000, and which amounts to about $16,000 a month, and we're right on track with the same thing. We serve a noon meal at the main site, Sunday through Friday, and an evening meal on Monday at that site as well. We also serve noon meals at Mills and Evansville, Monday through Friday. We offer activities as well as meals. The meal is most important, brings our community together. It serves a very critical need. In the first 6 months of this year, we served 18,458 meals to an unduplicated number 987 individuals. That's just those who meet the AOA requirements of 60 years of age. 255 of those were considered to be at high risk, and 203 were reported to be living in poverty, 361 living alone. I don't know that those are accurate numbers because they are self-reported, and they are very reluctant to provide us with the information necessary to make those determinations. The meal that is served has the caloric intake necessary to sustain an individual for a day. They are very good meals, and I would welcome you to come down and take part in those with us. We also have activities that are geared to engage the minds of the individuals in order to enrich their lives, to keep them active and living in their homes independently as long as possible. We have exercise programs like chair yoga and Tai Chi, especially for the arthritic individual, and we have individuals, a lady who walks in pain and walks out dancing, so that's wonderful. We also have dance, line dance, and card games, crafts, activities. We're looking to expand our programming. We're looking to expand our volunteer base, and I'm so thankful to have this opportunity to
30 seconds.
get the names of these individuals so that I can partner with them. Two big events that we have coming up. We do have a Thankful Thursday that we are responsible for on October 18th. We'd love to have you there. And a true senior prom. We're planning a true senior prom. We intend to make it intergenerational, and like I said, hope to have an opportunity to partner with all of you. Questions?
I think my mom and dad are going to go to the senior prom.
Yeah.
I may have to chaperone them.
Seriously, we did this in Rapid City. We've done it for 3 years, and it was planned and orchestrated by a group of young men and women from all of the schools in the area. It's a youth enrichment group, and they planned it together with us and orchestrated it. They did the funding, and it was a wonderful opportunity because kids came in, learned dance so that they could dance with individuals who didn't have partners.
Yeah.
Would you like me to wrap it up?
No, it's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Arc of Natrona County.
Hello. Thank you guys for your patience. It's been kind of a long evening, but it's been fun to watch. So my name is Bethany Young, and I'm the Executive Director at the Arc of Natrona County, and I just want to thank you guys for your previous support with 1 cent funds. So this year, we're actually going to be asking for funds for some different reasons. Last year, or the last few years, we actually had asked for funds for our non-waiver program. So we serve adults and children in our Casper community and surrounding areas with special needs. We serve all ages, all different types of disabilities. So we have a lot of children on the autism spectrum disorders, a lot of different participants with mental retardation, a lot of different health needs, including seizure disorders, CP, cerebral palsy. We have a lot of high behavioral participants as well. And so that's kind of what we do here in our community. We are affiliated with ARC National, but we kind of focus on what we can do here locally, and our mission is locally based. And so what we are requesting is $15,000 for the next 4 years each, for a total of $60,000. And that's going to be $9,750 towards an adult day coordinator. So we have a gal who's running our program. She's paid an hourly wage at the moment now, but we're wanting to expand that program, and we have asked her to do more, so we're wanting to kind of match that and make it more of a salaried position. Our program has also grown a lot since last summer. It's actually doubled. So we bought a building last May, and we've had to do a lot of construction, and we're actually looking at having to do more construction, which is part of what was in some of our expenditures this upcoming year, is because we have expanded quite a bit. So we're looking at growing our program a lot. So we need somebody who can actually go behind the program and support it like it needs to be supported. She's very knowledgeable about what she does, and our families trust her and love her, so we want to be able to support her in keeping her around. And then also, we are also requesting the remainder of that, $5,250 for program activities. So we serve 21 participants full-time in-house. We are actually, to my knowledge, still the only nonprofit for children that has an after-school and summer program. So they come after school, get bused, and then parents pick up after work, and in the summer they're with us all day. And we started serving adults that are there all day. We go out and do volunteer opportunities, try to help with some job coaching, different things like that in our community. And so we are asking for some program activity funds for that, because we actually serve 65% of our families fall at the poverty level or underneath. So we have a lot of families that are not able to help contribute towards activities in the community. And as a nonprofit, we can't always fully access the things that our participants not only deserve, but that is helpful for their well-being. So we look at writing is very therapeutic for participants with needs. And so being able to have them go out to reach for a star, we had to skip that this year for our kids because we couldn't afford how much it was going to cost for all of our kids to go. So we are just asking for some funding to be able to support those things, to get some more community access. It's very important for our participants to learn how to have those life skills in the community, how to fully function appropriately, and to how, to kind of just work on that behavior in the community. We've had some agencies in town. The Y has been really helpful with us in trying to help
get us in there, and just due to some behavioral issues with a couple of our kiddos, it's just not safe for them to be there. So part of that funding that we're requesting would be maybe to bring somebody in to do some personal yoga classes or some different things that can get our participants up and moving, working on their health and things that are very important for their well-being. We have a lot of participants that are not in the best shape and are not very healthy just due to a lot of medications that they're on and just part of their needs. So that's something that is really important for our participants as well. And also we thought about some pottery classes and different things to help with some motor skills and just some different activities like that would be very important for our participants. And so our population is a lot of times overlooked and not always given the opportunities. So I just want to thank you guys for your time tonight, and just, if you have any questions, just want to thank you for your consideration.
Questions for Bethany? Chris?
This 15,000 is for each year, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Morgan.
My question was going to be posed with the state lawmaker here, but I guess the question to you would be, do you see the increase in services that you provide due to some of the FLS classrooms that were shut down recently in our school district?
We don't actually, because Medicaid has a rule that we can't actually provide services while participants are in school.
Okay.
And so school age actually goes up to the age of 21. So we actually can't even provide adult services till the age of 21. That is supposed to be changing next year in April, that if you're 18, you have that 3-year gap that you may be able to receive services if you qualify. But there are some other programs that kind of fill in that gap. So yeah, that hasn't actually really impacted us much. But
Okay.
yeah, but we do, a lot of the participants that we see as our adults, we just started with adult programs a couple years back, and we're kind of the last stop shop. A lot of our adults have been through every program and have burnt through them. Something didn't go well, or they just were over it. And so we've kind of been the last stop shop. So we really have been growing and really building those relationships with our families. But I did actually want to point something out real quick. On the capital outlay, and I apologize, I didn't notice this until I already had turned in my application. But the $30,000 that we had on there, it was included in the 44 for the new operating reserve. 30,300 of that was actually towards some renovations on our building. We're having to actually remodel. When we bought the building, we did a complete remodel in our back adult area. Well, we've doubled our program, so we actually have to knock out all of those walls we put up and are having to expand. But I actually counted that twice on there on accident. So it was also in the expenditure summary. So both of those years, it's actually down 30,000 from what it's showing. So I just wanted to point that out. Awesome.
Thanks, Bethany. Central Wyoming Rescue. Good evening.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for accepting our late application. Brad Hopkins is my name, Executive Director over at Central Wyoming Rescue Mission, doing business now as Wyoming Rescue Mission. As you know, you very generously helped us kick off a plan much needed in our community to expand our ability at the rescue mission to serve those that are struggling with homelessness and poverty here in our city and our county. We're very grateful for a little bit less than $300,000 at that time, which really got us over the hump for renderings on the bulk of our project transformation plan, which focuses on the Park Street Center, which we anticipate moving folks in roughly about the third week of next month. Quite an amazing effort in our partnership with Casper Building. You will notice on page 5 of our application a request for $200,000, which really relates to 2 areas. One is cost tying into the city infrastructure as we anticipate upwards of 170 beds at its fullest over at Park Street Center, serving both men and women and families. We obviously need good water supply and good sewer service over there. The second big bucket on our request relates to demolition. Our plan as it relates to the Park Street Center was to utilize CDBG funds, which I understand are no longer available for demolishing properties, and so we have a significant cost there to incur. But as you know, we're serving a group of folks that are very vulnerable in our community, and our goal is to get them restored in a healthy, safe community, back engaged in the community and productive again. And so 75% of our folks are able to maintain employment, get employment within about 2 to 3 weeks in our emergency services program. And folks that graduate from the discipleship recovery, which is not directly housed in the Park Street Center, though they will be availing themselves of the classroom in the Park Street Center, see an 80% plus in-housing rate a year later. So while we provide a safety net here for the community, we appreciate your consideration and maybe some of these less glamorous costs, if you will, to restoring lives that are struggling with homelessness, but quite essential. I don't know if I can pass out some books or not, but if
you bet.
You have plenty of reading, but this is the overall plan. If you need cure with insomnia later tonight, just wanted you to see the overall $8 million plan that we're working on for Wyoming Rescue Mission, of which $6 million addresses a new Park Street Center at Park and A Street. So we appreciate you entertaining the application, and thank you for your wonderful services here to our city.
Any questions? No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Ventura County Health Department. Ventura County Health Department, just make sure. Okay. Well, just want to make sure I thank everybody. I know a lot of people have left already, but I want to make sure to thank everyone for coming down. Thank you for being here, listening, and being a part of that. Any questions, please feel free to contact our city manager or any of the council members to this. We will be working on it and be doing a lot of reading, I think. Tough decisions to be made. So I do need a movement to move into executive session.
Move that we go to executive session.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
You're gonna do the, we're coming back out here to adjourn speech?
Yeah. I don't know why we do that. You want to go, Mike?